Hey there, folks. Before we get into today's episode, I want to let you know about CyberFest Northwest 2025. The Cybertronian Festival returns to the Pacific Northwest for our 12th annual unofficial Transformers convention by the fans for the fans. Please join us at the Kent Commons Community Center on Saturday, July 12th for CyberFest Northwest 2025. Dealer and artist applications are now open. Do you want to sell Transformers or Transformers merch at CyberFest? Come sell toys, art, 3D printed goods, napkins, tumblers, soap, scarves, whatever. If it's Transformers, we want to see it at CyberFest Northwest. Apply right now at cybefestnw.com. Fans of all ages will be able to experience all things Transformers, from purchasing Transformers to games to panels and displays and so much more. Dealer applications are open now, and attendee pre-registration will be opening soon. We'll have plenty more details and announcements to come, so be sure and keep an eye out on cybefestnw.com for all the latest information about this exciting convention that you will not want to miss. If you are a new or a longtime fan, come celebrate all things Transformers at CyberFest Northwest. We'll see you in July. And now, enjoy today's podcast.
Autobots, transform and roll out!
Mike! 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 So many Mike! So many Mike! So many Mike! So many Mike!
Well, hey, friends, welcome back for another thrilling episode of Two Mikes, Two Furious Animated Transformers, where you are Mike, and we're talking about Transformers Animated one episode at a time from two different points of view. My name is Mike Seibert. I am your first-time watcher. I've never watched Transformers Animated before this project, so I'm experiencing it for the first time. But I am not unguided in this journey. Along with me, as always, he's the Spark Soul brother. He's the serial rewatcher. He's the pizza papa who always gets paid. He's my friend, author Michael Andrews.
Hey, Mike. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's I got a tummy full of pizza and it's snowing outside. Life is good.
Yeah, me too. You're embracing the pizza breakfast. I like to hear that.
I'm on the Michael Andrews pizza breakfast snowy day program, I guess.
Breakfast of Champions.
Copyright TFA.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm just coming off. I know we don't like to put timestamps on stuff, but I'm coming off of watching the Royal Rumble yesterday, so I'm very off the top rung WWE mindset right now. So yeah, let's do it. Let's kick it. Kick some people in the face. Whew.
I was today years old when I realized you were a fan of WWE. I did not know that you threw down for pay-per-views and stuff. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of in between. I wouldn't say I'm a great fan of it, but I do have Peacock, which allows me to watch the pay-per-view stuff. And a friend of mine of around COVID times, was talking about it. And I was like, you know what? I want something. I don't have sports in my life. I don't have anything that I can look forward to other than, watching a movie on Sunday nights or something. So it was something I could jump into and try out. And I've kind of stuck with it. I like texting him, live texting him during it, talking back and forth about it. So that's my WWE experience, I guess.
Very nice. All right. Very cool. Well, so today our journey through season 3 continues. We're hurtling through. I can't believe we're in episode 4 of season 3 already, but we are talking about Transformers Animated season 3, episode 4, overall episode 33, Three's a Crowd. And what perfect opportunity to bring in our special guest. It is Three's a Crowd, so you got to have 3 mics joining us for the very first time, very recent fan of the podcast. Give it up for John. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. Excited to be here. I've never been on a podcast before, and I like this one. Listen to a lot of them.
Well, that was actually going to be my first question. I mean, first of all, thanks for joining us. We appreciate you taking the time. But how do you get here? How does one find Two Mikes, Two Furious animated Transformers?
I listen to a lot of podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
And so pretty much whatever I'm interested in, I will find a podcast at any given moment. I'll find a podcast to listen to. And so this summer I was running out of history podcasts, the ones that I liked. So I was watching Robotech at the time. Yeah. And which I'm a big fan of Robotech. And I listened to all of that. And so I was thinking about other animated shows that I like. So I thought Transformers. So I looked around for Transformers podcasts about different things, and I was sort of just kind of lingering. And then I saw there was a Transformers animated one, and I had watched some of Transformers animated when I was younger, and I had always meant to go back and rewatch all of it because, like, I had out of context seen a lot of like the Ratchet War flashback stuff on YouTube.
Just the light stuff, then.
Right? Yeah. Well, you know. I'd seen a lot of the Ratchet War flashback stuff on YouTube, so I wanted to check it out. And then you mentioned it was free, and I was like on Tubi, and I was like, well, shit. So I sat down and watched it, and then I've just kind of been on and off listening since.
Awesome. So, $1 million question: have you since gone back and watched the entire show, or are you only like caught up to where we are?
Oh no,
today?
I watched through it in like a week.
Okay, all right. So you're ahead of Mike Seibert.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Who isn't at this point? I mean, seriously, like I have friends of mine who are like, well, hey, you know, that season 3, man, it really cooks. I'm like, I'm sure it does. He's like, oh yeah, I sat and watched it all. You're gonna love it. I'm like, that's what people keep telling me.
Just wait for the thing with the thing with the thing. You're gonna dig it.
Ironically enough, now that we've gotten this deep into the show, and especially here into season 3, like the hard spoilers seem to have kind of tapered off. Like it was kind of like rough sledding, like when we first started. Like, you know, I'm seeing like GIFs of like the Autobot ship transforming into Omega Supreme. I'm like, oh well, I kind of guessed that from like some of the clues, but well, I guess now I know. Right. You know, that kind of thing. So there, you know, and I think I've said this in a few different contexts, but like for me now, the surprises seem to be in little stuff. You know, it's like, you know, moments, lines of dialogue, little references, little character moments. Whereas like, I don't necessarily have to worry about like the broader strokes being spoiled as much as it was in season 1 and season 2. So that's kind of great. And I'm kind of glad that we're kind of on the other side of the sorry stuff. Like, I'm sure there's still some sorry stuff left, but like just the fact that like now that she has transformed and that, you know, we know some of her origin, I think that takes like a big burden and kind of like a heavy lift off of kind of like our spoiler-free shoulders here, you know, and as opposed to like anytime we would talk about sorry, and I would say like, well, she's a human child, and like inevitably somebody in the chat would be like, oh, he thinks she's a human child.
Oh, that's so adorable.
So I'm glad that we're kind of on the other side of that, so we could perhaps you know, speak a little more freely about the show in general.
On the topic of sorry being a human child, you then get back into our Transformers cars.
Right.
Oh, right. The age-old debate.
Yeah. It's like,
what insurance does Sorry have now? What kind of car?
Well,
human?
If Transformers are cars, then Sorry is a human because she transforms into one.
Right. There you go. And
oh my
it's
gosh. Human alt mode.
You know, do they need life insurance or do they need car insurance? You know, that kind of thing. It's like,
do they wear Vans or are they Vans?
Oh, you beat me to it. I was gonna say nice shoes. Send your tired memes to 2mikes@gmail.com. Specifically send them via email.
The Transformers meme graveyard.
Yes. Oh my goodness. So kind of getting back on task a little bit. We are talking about Three's a Crowd, episode 4 of season 3, overall episode 33, airing on March 21st of 2009. Written by our good buddy Rich Fogel, who had written previous banger episodes: Total Meltdown, Lost and Found, The Elite Guard, Michael Andrews' favorite, Black Friday, and now Three's a Crowd. And he's got one more more episode later in season 3. Curiously, though, and I didn't realize this until I just checked it just now, not Rise of the Constructicons, just Black Friday. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So it's like, so with being such a Constructicon heavy episode, I'm kind of surprised. Like, I don't remember who even wrote that episode, and I'm not going to go looking for it now, but like, it's just kind of interesting because usually like what we've seen with even like with like anytime Headmaster shows up, it's like, you've got like the same writer kind of carrying their character throughout. So I was kind of interested to notice that, and I don't know if I noted that when we talked about Black Friday.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, because Rich Fogel is kind of known for being Meltdown's writer. There has been, I should say, a typical Headmaster writer, and there's been a typical Constructicon writer. It's just weird that they're like, here, take everybody's characters and you handle it.
Yeah, it's I don't know if it's
and
like,
not even your original character, right? Like,
yeah, maybe it's like a crossover month or something like that. Everybody like change partners and dance or something. I don't know,
mixing it up.
But what a weird episode this is. And even with that being said, I do think that this is the perfect tone to follow up the Transwarped extravaganza. It's like you've got 3 straight episodes, like a 72-minute movie of just trauma, angst, death. And it's just like, relentless, minute. Just, it's just a capital M metal of a episode. Liquid Metal, by the way, is the heavy metal station on Sirius XM. My buddy Anthony Bercali, TFU.info, mentioned that. He's like, I like the heavy metal baby joke, but also you're making Sirius XM jokes. That's my station, dude. Okay, very good.
So he's a liquid metal baby, is what I'm understanding.
Yes, TFU.info _heavy metal baby. There we go. Perfect. So I mean, like, I like that this is, zany and daffy and kind of weirdly low stakes. It's kind of the perfect episode to follow up Transwarp, very similar to how Black Friday was kind of like the calm before the storm before the season 2 finale, that kind of thing. So I think all of this kind of like bookends pretty well. But at this point, before we get into kind of like the talking about the plot synopsis of the episode, John, you specifically asked for this. You wanted this. So walk us through a little bit some Headmaster and Constructicon legislation. Why this episode?
So I figured this would be the best time to talk about, because I generally agree with most of what you say. However, I like both the Constructicons and Headmaster a lot more than you guys do. Sure. And this isn't my favorite episode of season 3. It's really an outlier episode for the most part for me. Like, it's good. I like it.
Yeah.
But I really thought this was a good time to bring it up. Now, it might have been that I was like 8 when I watched the first Headmaster episode. And now I've always found Headmaster, the character, like Henry Masterson, the person, the worst. He is the worst. Yeah. And I deeply dislike him as a person. I think that makes him a good villain, but because actually, I want him to get his comeuppance always, but I always found the Headmaster thing less frightening or like horrifying as a child and more just kind of funny. Which, so like, I don't know. I may not be like a great indicator of what your average child thought, because like I was like 8 and also like reading Warhammer novels, which have a lot of violence in them. So like what I like expect on like dismemberment was a bit higher than your average kid, but like, and they're robots, there's no blood or anything. And, I mean, it's like the Michael Bay movies. You can do whatever the hell you want. So I don't know. So you're always like, it's kind of horrifying. And I'm like, yeah, I guess it would be horrifying if your head got cut off and your body got taken over. On the other hand, it's kind of funny though.
Right.
Well, I think that's sorry to interrupt, but I think that's great because you're kind of like the mindset of Derek J. Wyatt actually when creating the character, right? Like he thought it was really funny. He was like, I need something for kids. This is the funniest thing I can think of. Yeah. So I mean, that was his mindset also.
I also think it's interesting because I like it when they do weird stuff with the Cybertronian biology, because like you couldn't do that with a human, they'd die.
Right.
But like from what I understand, as long as you keep the brain part intact, the spark intact, and the body mostly intact, you can kind of just fix a person if they're Cybertronian.
Yeah.
So
yeah, for the most part.
I thought that is interesting. It's like how I kind of think it's funny that in the Transformers, the movie, there's that one part where they just have Cup get dismembered for no reason and then they just put him back together. Or they blow up Ultra Magnus and then just kind of go, yeah, he's fine.
I think they were thinking, years later in the future, we might need to have sort of a toy that can come apart at certain joints, that this might be a good opportunity for that. Maybe
I was going to echo that exact sentiment because they did that for both Cup and Ultra Magnus in Studio Series 86. Like Cup's arms and legs pop off at those spots, and same thing with Ultra Magnus, because like Studio Series 86 Ultra Magnus is just like, it's not like an Optimus Prime wearing armor. It's like it's one combined figure. So basically his arms and legs pop off as if he was getting like drawn and quartered. Like they've got like the joints there to where you could just do that as part of the play pattern. It's nuts.
Yeah, I actually, a small aside, I just finally saw images of the Studio Series, the Transformers, the movie Ultra Magnus, which was something that was like not on my radar. I don't need that for my collection, even though I collect Ultra Magnus. And I saw it and I was just like, good Lord, I want that bad. Give me that big, juicy blue, red, and white steak.
He is a chunky boy.
He is huge.
That's Ultra's Magnus.
Yes.
Yes, right.
Like Attorneys General. Yes, of course.
Yes. And then secondarily, I think the Constructicons are fun. I'm not as bothered by them, and it may be where I grew up. Like, yeah, I think their behavior is gross or whatever, but like, I think that they're kind of tending on the bad side of like overall a noble-ish type of person.
Mm-hmm.
The hardworking construction worker, like they're in the bad side of that. And I think it makes sense why they would be maybe more Decepticon leaning for that aspect. But I think they're hilarious because like every job I've ever held in my area, I've worked with like 3 of them.
Sure. I was raised by one of them, so yeah,
yes,
go on.
yes. So I think they're just kind of endearing, and I think they're funny. And I don't know, I just like them.
Yeah.
Like whenever they show up, I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
I tend to like Scrapper a bit more.
Yeah.
Interesting.
He seems more or less just kind of nice, like maybe a bit dumb, but he's the Marv if they are the Home Alone Wet Bandits. I think almost deliberately.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, that's interesting though. I think there's been some work to sort of make him a little more mild mannered. But I remember, originally when we saw him, he was kind of like the toxic brains of the operation, right? Like he was, making choices that were more evil than his partner would like to admit. And I don't know. So I think there's been some softening there of that character, especially, probably as we get into talking about this episode, when you have the Dirt Boss coming into the picture. You got to make him like the big bad, and then
Well, yeah, Dirt Boss sucks.
Yeah. He is a fucking shit.
He sucks.
And it's so funny too, because it's like, I don't know if like the creation of the Dirt Boss character was literally meant to challenge my sensibilities, because it's like we're going to take Constructicons that Mike Seibert is kind of lukewarm on. We're going to take Headmaster, who he's kind of lukewarm on, and we're going to smush them together into one awful, wretched gremlin of a character.
And I kind of like him. We'll talk about that later. Such a turd.
he is awful, but I do like him as a character. I think he explains why they continue to be evil a lot better now.
Yes,
because like I think they would have kind of just gone neutral if Megatron had just Megatron's gone, and like my sort of read on them is they're just kind of they're gig workers.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to get a gig, but now they've got Dirt Boss. So now they're going to do evil because they have to listen to Dirt Boss.
Is this going to be my new
cast.
Sentinel Prime where I'm like, I love this guy. He's great. And everyone else is like, he sucks. He sucked from the very beginning. What's wrong with you?
Sentinel Prime in this show makes me deeply angry every time he's on screen. But Dirt Boss, I think, is funny. He's just an asshole.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny too, because who among us hasn't worked for a little twerp with a power complex, that kind of thing. It's just that and maybe that's what kind of hit kind of close to home to me. It's just oh man, because both Mix and Scrap are twice this dude's size. I mean, you could just pick this little fucker up and yeet him into the sun and just be done. Just Lion King that motherfucker and just be done with it. They don't.
He is literally shorter than Bumblebee.
Yes.
Yeah.
We do get some great payoff on that later, but we're getting way ahead of ourselves. Let's kind of start back at the beginning, because I kind of really like this opening scene. Talk about little folks, but so we open on Sumdac Tower, and both Bulkhead and Isaac are trying to build a new space bridge, and and it seems like a good idea. It's let's build a space bridge nexus port thing on top of the tower. That conceptually seems like a decent idea, but throughout this whole sequence, the busted up Headmaster unit is just sitting there, looking at them, and so I like the visual there, but it just cracks me up because Isaac is distracted by this thing, even though Bulkhead is eager to kind of get work going and really isn't paying as close attention to it. But yeah, Isaac is just fixated on this thing.
I'm telling you, that thing is staring at me. It's as if its eyes are following me wherever I go.
Yeah, I really like this too. I love in any show when they have kind of two characters that have seemingly been opposite the entire show, share a little moment, share a little laugh over a joke. I love this coming together of the kind of forced human space bridge expert and the career space bridge expert, sharing a little laugh over some Star Trek technical jargon. That moment was really nice for me. That was a big payoff.
Well, and the tech jargon is fine, but it underscores though that Isaac Sumdac still, even now, having survived the mines and that adventure there, still doesn't quite understand the dynamic here. He still thinks that Bulkhead is putting on an act. There's something in him that just doesn't quite seem to latch onto that Bulkhead is a legit space bridge genius. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, I wonder if that's just some of that old fashioned inventor big Elon Musk energy of how can anybody be as smart as me? We've compared Headmaster to Elon Musk a little bit, but Isaac Sumdac's a little like Elon Musk in that he really didn't invent anything himself. A lot of it is, kind of reverse engineering and stuff like that. And so maybe he has this chip on his shoulder of I need to be the smartest in the room.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
To be fair to Isaac Sumdac, though, he did still do the science.
That's right. Right. And to be fair to Isaac Sumdac, he's also likable and someone I want to be around.
Well, that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's so is it here where we get kind of this thing where Bulkhead is kind of trying to push Isaac a little bit, and it's hey man, we got to get this thing done because there's a ticking clock. We need to call to Cybertron to let them know that there's still a traitor there. And I keep forgetting sometimes that the Earthbound Autobots know that it's specifically Long Arm Prime or specifically Shockwave masquerading as Long Arm Prime. They have all of the intel, and all of that intel died with Blur. But they don't know that. In fact, they don't even know that Blur knew that, honestly, now that I say that out loud. But I could get Bulkhead's sense of urgency here.
We got bigger stuff to worry about, like rebuilding the space bridge so we can warn Cybertron that our head of intel is a Decepticon traitor.
Isaac pops off. He's yeah, this is worse than working with Megatron. And it's just wait a damn minute. And of course, you get this whole this weird I don't know, callback type of thing where obviously the disabled Headmaster unit kind of mirrors Megatron's disembodied head from, season 1. So it's like that symmetry there is just it's just too obvious to pass up.
Yeah, and there was something really real about you make that kind of off-color comment and you just realize how inappropriate it is instantly, right? Like I'm sure we've all been there. We said that thing that we're just like saying it off the cuff and then, record scratch, everyone in the room is staring at you like, sorry, your friend is as bad as Megatron, the head of the terrorist organization that held you captive in a cave. That's how the comparison you want to make. Yeah, so that was kind of a real whoa moment.
This would be like if in Captain America Civil War, if Tony Stark was like, working with you is as bad as working for those terrorists that kidnapped me.
Isaac Sumdac built this thing in a lab.
Yeah.
With all the pieces he needed.
The box of scraps. Exactly. Yeah.
Isaac Sumdac built this in Detroit.
Right. Where cars are cars. Men are men. Something. I don't know.
Exactly. So one other bit of legislation that I thought was kind of odd here. So they're trying to get this space bridge working, and Bulkhead has an Allspark fragment. Where did he get that? Because as far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, as far as I know, at the end of season 2, they have, for their various item quests throughout season 2, they have the Allspark chamber, the chest the matrix looking chest thing full of various fragments. They then use that to kickstart Omega Supreme. So those fragments are gone, used up or whatever. And now Omega is gone, transwarping throughout the universe with Megatron. So it's the Mike Seibert classic, make it a t-shirt, make it a button. How much time has passed? So does it stand to reason that maybe there was like a couple quote unquote episodes worth of time in here? Have they had another zany adventure with like an Allspark fueled villain that they've since relieved that Allspark fragment of? Because it does. I don't know if I'm asking and answering my own question, but I don't feel like every single shard has been collected. There wasn't like a achievement unlock that comes up and says you have collected all the Allspark shards, that kind of thing. But it did kind of strike me kind of weird. I'm like, cool, I get that we need to get but where do you get that? I mean, obviously you need that for the plot to continue, but still, it just, I don't know, it hit me very funny very early.
I mean, not every Allspark fragment would necessarily have landed in a place where it could do something. If one of them just lands in a field somewhere and then sits there for a little while, and then, I don't know, Prowl is driving by and his energy sensor goes, hey, there's something weird over there, and he walks over, there's just an Allspark fragment. I mean, yeah. And you wouldn't want to make episodes about them just wandering around finding Allspark fragments, because that'd be kind of boring.
Yeah.
Right. It's a little ambiguous, but I think this episode kind of does a good job of picking up where we can believe that the Autobots are back on their mission of tracking people down. They're out, even in this other scene, they're out on the streets of New Detroit with the stasis cuffs. They're back to their old shtick of trying to track down maybe bots that have fragment in them, or just fragments, lying in a field, as you said. So I think there's a little bit of synergy of why it's happening, or that we don't need to know exactly where this spark came from.
Also, I don't have a hard count, but I believe they didn't use every fragment they did to power up Omega.
Sure.
Because I only remember 3 shards being animated, and I know they collected more than 3 in the course of that season. So maybe they just had a spare one lying around.
Someone with the real answer is screaming at their radio right now, right? They know the answer.
I love it.
Because they have the Matrix box thing sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, because it falls with everything else. Also, I don't know if you mentioned it, and I thought it was before here, but when they were panning across the lab, they do that long pan over a Constructicon colored forklift that they just have
Right.
I don't know whose idea that was. That could only go poorly.
Right. Yeah, not the most subtle. I mean, it reminds me of that what was it, the Space Barnacles episodes where you've got like your Michael Andrews contemplative rig worker type of guy in his coffee drinking, but they're just using purple and green construction vehicles.
I forgot about that.
And they specifically don't become Constructicons.
Right.
So I wonder if, like, in the world of New Detroit in 2157, that like that's just standard coloring for construction vehicles or something. Like they all just come off the lot lime green and purple for no reason.
I mean, we know some of them don't.
Right.
Because the actual Constructicons weren't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I wonder if this was sort of like the opposite type of thing where they did that coloring to be like, pan off me. I'm just a forklift. There's nothing exciting here. You've seen these colors before. You just move along.
Yeah.
It's kind of a great twist on the first time you see those colors, right? That nothing happens to them. And then this time something does. So I can see that kind of playing with that a little bit. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So meanwhile, as Michael Andrews alluded to, the Autobots are out on patrol and they're looking for Decepticons. They're just looking to cuff fools. It's like, it's like, oh man, I got these cuffs and I wants to use them. It's like, not to kink shame here, but yeah, it just seems like they're a little too eager to use these stasis cuffs on fools. Just like imagining just prowling the night, no pun intended, or pun fully intended, actually. Just looking to. It's like, oh man, I want to stun some fools. I got cuff some fools tonight. But
stop making the Autobots cops.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. So they in their quest to find Decepticons, one finds them. So it's like they didn't even find Lugnut. Lugnut found them, and you get the return of the poke, the punch of kill everything, which I is always welcome, and welcome back to the show, Lugnut. Like, where you been, buddy?
Yeah, this whole thing kind of makes sense. I don't know if it comes up here or later. Well, first of all, this ends up being like the longest Autobot side quest B storyline. Like, it takes so long and it's so impotent in what it accomplishes that the time frame here is like, what the hell is happening? How long were you guys at this pit? But before that, the idea that Lugnut is like desperately searching for Megatron definitely fits with that character, right?
Check.
Like we need that guy. He's my favorite. He's my boss. He's the love of my life, Megatron.
Right.
Like he's out looking for answers.
He's a real Olivia Newton-John here. He's like hopelessly devoted to you. That one of those kinds of things.
And then Megatron's elsewhere, like singing about like how he's just a plaything to him, and he's just one of the summer loves.
Well, see, now I kind of need that.
Yeah, right.
Well, I think in this relationship, Lugnut is the serf to Megatron's King Arthur in Spamalot the Musical.
Oh, there you go. Well done.
Beautiful.
I'm all alone except for me. Yeah.
So back at Subdeck Tower, like we alluded to it earlier, we're futzing around with the Space Bridge Nexus. We're talking about Allspark fragments, looking to give it a boost, and then it turns out while Bulkhead is a Space Bridge genius, apparently checks notes structural integrity is not his first best strength, and this poor Sumdac Tower, like that building has endured so much over these 3 seasons, and basically like this because of the weight, which I would think with this weight distribution, maybe it's not such a hot idea to graft a bunch of stuff onto the top of the tower, but that might not be here or there. I don't know.
This also brings up a question that I perpetually have. How much do Transformers weigh?
Yeah.
That's maybe something we shouldn't look into that.
Mass shifting.
But no, it's a good point.
Oh, right. Mass shifting. I forgot about mass shifting.
Right,
they're storing it in another dimension whenever they're standing on top of some deck towers. Because, like, you'd have to imagine the entire team of Autobots fist fighting Megatron in Sumdak's room would be harder on the integrity than Bulkhead moving some I-beams.
Right. Well, and maybe this was just the last straw. Maybe the floor has become like, I'm imagining there's like a cutaway of like every time there's a transformer in that office, a cutaway of just like it just buckles a little more. and this was the last one.
So here's my theory. So
Sure.
Porter C. Powell is obviously a grifter, right?
Obviously.
Who likes to make money. So the whole time he's in there, he's been taking pieces out of the tower he doesn't think are important and selling them.
I love it.
Oh, that's great.
That seems like something he could have done.
It is the fewest amount of beams we need to like be able to stay standing. We'll just pull them out.
And then a butterfly lands on it, and
but yeah, so we're getting into the reason for the season here. The floor gives way, and in goes into the pit the damaged Headmaster unit, the forklift, and an Allspark fragment to go with them. I wonder what's gonna happen.
Also, Isaac Sumdak.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. And Isaac goes with them. And I thought for a second, I'm like, oh no, is Dirt Boss going to be this awful homunculus of like Isaac Sumdak crammed in there also? Talk about body horror. That is upsetting.
Yeah, I can't unsee that now. Thanks, Mike.
To be fair, I don't know if Isaac Sumdak would have survived that fall.
Oh, surely not.
Yeah. I do like that for once Bulkhead does get to do some precision, and he is able to fire a wrecking ball and not hit Isaac Sumdak. That probably would have been pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Where was this guy all of season 1 if you can use that with such precision, right? Like, geez.
He was learning.
It's true. That's true. This also brings to mind, I don't know if we brought this up at the time. I'm going way back to the Bulkhead episode where he's just trashing the town with every step he takes.
Yes.
So much that's so much like Hound in Age of Extinction, right? Just the fat ballerina, just
Bacon.
Huge and green and falling into buildings.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think Bulkhead could ever out-destroy property with Hound from Age of Extinction.
Yeah, right.
That man loves property destruction.
And the sheer number of like ammunition and bullets, guns, grenades, bombs. Definitely not.
Am I misremembering it here? But like, is this like plasma dynamic thruster core thing also going down with them?
No, because it's off to the side because they end up using it later.
Got it. Because I was trying to visualize and remember what's actually falling down into the lower levels and what actually combines together to form Dirt Boss.
It's the Allspark holder, the Matrix looking thing, the forklift, and the head. Though the Matrix looking thing doesn't get added because that comes back.
Got it. Okay.
But,
like I knew there was more than just the Headmaster unit and the forklift, and like you had pointed out, John, there's Isaac in there as well before he gets rescued. But
before we get too far off the structural legislation here, I guess I didn't catch exactly what moment everything made fall, and I think we've legislated here, but when I first saw it, I thought it was almost like an antimatter weight thing. Like it felt like the fragment itself had some sort of like otherworldly mathematical weight to it, and that's what caused the implosion. I don't know if it like charged up, but I don't know. Did you guys take that away, or did you clock it right away what actually happened?
I think it's just Bulkhead leaning on the wall there or something. I think he's just like,
oh, is there some...
Yeah, I think he's just like taking a load off, and I think it's that actually just kind of like causes things to break loose.
I've been watching too much Star Trek, I guess. Maybe I filled in the blank.
So the thing that causes it to break, Isaac Sumdak is taking the Constructicon forklift, which has the Matrix of Leadership looking thing in its tines, over to power up the space bridge. He says something condescending to Bulkhead. Bulkhead goes,
"Relax. When it comes to space bridges, I know what I'm doing."
And puts an elbow on the thing and leans forward and then pushes the forklift through the floor and then goes, "I'm not so hot at structural integrity, though." It is maybe my favorite thing about Bulkhead is that he is really, really good at one thing for no reason.
Right.
Other than he just wanted to be, I guess.
Yeah. And he hasn't made it his whole personality. It's just this one kind of facet of him that is interesting.
And it explains why the big clumsy one was on the space bridge repair crew, because he actually knows what the hell he's doing.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And they played it so well with just the well, it just didn't come up kind of a thing, you know? Like,
right.
Character that didn't have to like flex his knowledge was also really refreshing, right? Like it's not someone that's just throwing it in your face.
I like that he learns to do space bridges because he's from like energon farming or something, and he's like it's like in the new Transformers 1 at the end where Bumblebee goes, "Yes, working for the government," you know. Like it's like, okay, I don't know if you've actually made your lot in life better, but I suppose.
Right.
Oh man. Also, one of my favorite all-time lines in like anything was that working for the government bit.
Oh, his enthusiasm. This is the best day of my life. I get to work for the government.
So good.
It's pretty good. He's so earnest. I've really warmed up to that performance. It didn't quite work for me the first time through, but now that I've seen one like a half a dozen times, it's a lot of fun.
I think the only note I have on B in that movie is I would drop the badassatron to be a 3-time bit, not 6.
Yeah.
100% agree. They definitely took that out to lunch a few too many times.
I do it once when they meet him, once when they do Alita, and then the one time it actually made me laugh, which is when he kills the 2 bots and goes, "Badassatron!" and then runs off. That one made me laugh. I was like, okay, fine. You got that one.
Yeah, no, I think you fixed it because 3 times, and because like when it pays off huge, and it is very satisfying once you realize B-127 has become Deadpool and just has a thirst for violence. His knife hands, his blades are endlessly thirsty, and his thirst for drone robot blood will not be slaked.
Also, I don't know if you guys know this. Are those drones? Are they like specially made Transformers? Like, are they alive? Do they have sparks? What's going on with them?
I took them as Viacons, kind of like that. But I don't think there's a coding or anything that says that. That's just. It also helps that they don't speak. So
they have that one scene because when they go to arrest.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Alpha Trion.
Huh. Oh boy.
Well, I mean, look, it's okay to kill a Nazi if they're working for Adolf Hitler. So.
Exactly. I was just following orders. Yeah.
Like, look. You're allowed to fight them. I'm not saying they shouldn't have been fighting and killing them. I'm just saying, like, what's going on there?
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Sure. All right. So we go from one uncomfortable conversation to another as we go across town and we catch up with our good buddies, Mix and Scrap. And, this is, again, I feel like they wrote this scene for us to talk about in our context because, like, this is kind of ghoulish here. So they are at some kind of assembly plant or something where they are watching cars being disassembled, taken apart piece at a time, maybe in a teasing fashion as they are, stripped of their parts. So, but like it's a couple different things here. So first you get a reprise of the Little Red Coupe, and now we've seen that a kind of an upsetting fate has befallen this Little Red convertible as they are again. You could take it a couple different ways, and both are upsetting. Either this vehicle is being literally disassembled, like torn apart, like in a violent fashion. Maybe these Constructicons aren't into strip shows as much as they are into maybe something a little more violent and a little more uncomfortable there. But regardless, they're basically watching this, and I don't know, man. It makes my tummy hurt.
It just made me laugh.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little. Let's not go there. But I think it's cool. Now, once I saw the entire show and I realized they were trying to do this like mafioso motif through the whole thing, it made sense that these two grunts were like, you know, you drip drop throwing down money at a strip club when they get hired for a real job. Like finding them in sort of this like lowly spot that fits with that motif really well.
Yeah. Meanwhile, at the bada bing, that kind of thing. Yeah.
I just put together, because you said that, these are like the cushy job construction workers you get from organized crime.
Ah, yeah.
I like that.
You know, the like they're still construction workers, they're still hardworking, but they're working for, I don't know, they're like a legitimate Capone business or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Where they have to build a lot of houses over places where bodies are buried. They don't know why. They just put it up quick and get it done.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, and
they don't have
John,
questions.
Right.
We're structural experts, you know.
Yeah.
But you nailed it earlier, John, when you were kind of talking about, with the introduction of Dirt Boss, kind of recontextualizing what the Constructicons vibe and mission is. And it goes from, you know, kind of like being Decepticons to kind of being a mob. And I really like that perspective. I think that's a lot of fun.
I like the indication that Bulkhead just knew where they were.
Oh yeah. Great point. That is a great point too, because he just rolls up.
Wait,
like,
we completely forgot something. When they were doing all their jargon talk, Isaac Sumdac mentioned he reverse engineered the cloaking devices.
I just spent the past sleepless night overriding the Decepticon signal dampeners I was forced to create. I just hope your friends are able to track them down now.
Oh yeah, that's right. And that's kind of how the Autobots kind of end up on the hunt for Bulkhead. I've done it again for Lugnut. They're the same guy, kind of.
Yeah, pretty much. Decepticon Bulkhead.
Exactly. But yeah, and I like that kind of gets glossed over. Like I need Bulkhead to kind of like squint his eyes a little bit and say, "Oh, you made that for Megatron also? What else did you make for this guy? Good Lord."
I mean, he was under duress. I think you get a pass.
Yeah, right. He just giving him all the good tech.
He was just following orders, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a difference between just following orders and do this or I'll shoot you.
Sure.
I really got the vibe off. I mean, I've kind of have like an in-between here, right? Like I really got the vibe off him that he knew he didn't want to do evil, but he's also a scientist being given like this technology that, you know, he's never had before. And like, there's, you know, it's just that thing where like, you can't stop, right? Like you want to be able to invent it. You want to be able to do it. You see so many times that trope of like, someone's going to invent it. Why not me? I can see it made sense a little bit in the character that he would do that without evil intent.
Yeah.
I think also it's fun. I like to pretend that Bulkhead didn't know that the Constructicons were there. He was just going there. Maybe the scene we didn't see is like him walking around town. He's like, well, I'm never going to find these guys. Might as well go to the strip club.
Yeah, right.
Just ended up there.
I think it's funnier if Bulkhead goes, I need some structural integrity experts, and I know where they are.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's a good bit either way.
And I like this little bit of recruiting where, you know, Bulkhead is like, hey man,
I just want to offer you a job, a big job.
It's almost kind of like Mission Impossible kind of. He's like, I got a job for you. Well, we don't do that kind of work no more. But it's interesting also in my favorite trope, how much time has passed, because like Mick says something to the effect here of like,
we don't work for no cranking Autobots no more.
So to me, that implies that they now somewhat remember their encounter before. Like they now remember Bulkhead enough to call him Bulky, like they did before. Whereas I thought the implication is that they were kind of like, you know, clean slate after Black Friday, but maybe not.
There is the when they're fighting the Decepticons and after they sworn themselves over to Megatron, he does try and talk them down. He goes, "Remember, it's me, Bulky."
Oh yeah.
So they could just be like, "We don't work for Autobots.
We're Decepticons now."
Yeah,
Then you see the stamp on the grill.
Yeah, just conceptually, not necessarily remembering that incident where they did indeed work for Autobots. That's
they've definitely had a very liquid personality disorder this entire show. So, I mean, it's not uncommon that they're going to waffle between things and never know where they land.
Mm-hmm.
They're a little bit like Wreck-Gar in that way, right? Like they kind of just, go where the wind blows sort of a thing.
Yeah, very much so. Well, it's interesting too, and I don't remember if it's here or later, but like where Mix and Scrap are kind of talking about that kind of ill-defined relationship with the Decepticons. In fact, I think it is here because Bulkhead is saying so yeah, but Megatron's gone.
So how come I don't see your buddies anywhere?
Because one of them talks about the symbol on my chest says that I can't be friends with you anymore, that kind of thing. And Bulkhead kind of shoots him straight. It's
so you're just gonna sit here and rust while you wait for him. Good plan.
Those people are gone. And even if they aren't, they're certainly not coming back for you.
Yeah, that is this scene that's all kind of roped together here. But I really like the juxtaposition of it because it starts very aggressive. In fact, that line where Bulkhead says, "Me and Megatron, we talk all the time." That's super sarcastic, super aggressive line. That whole conversation kind of made me cringe because Bulkhead's like this lovable goof most of the time. This was really aggressive. And only this viewing did I realize he's kind of speaking their language, right? He's speaking the gruff language of the construction worker to try to win them over. To get them back to the base. And then when they're back at the base, that's when this whole conversation philosophy about what side who was on happens. But he had to get them to that point. So it was really smart to kind of use their language against them. And then when they're back, and they're enjoying their task, they're good at what they do. That's something we saw right away from the Constructicons. They love their work more than anything. It really resonates with them and gets them motivated. And that was a good move on his part. And then, sneaking in there hey, you can switch sides if you want. You can, it's just a badge on your chest. We can do something about that. Right. That's kind of a well maneuvered scheme on Bulkhead's part.
Yeah. And surprisingly, he doesn't have to apply them with oil. It's like that. I don't think that even comes up in this particular legislation.
He does say, "I have a job for you." So I would assume that implies payment.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, very much so. Off the books even, that.
Right. But to your point, he didn't have to dangle it in front of him, right? He didn't have to hold up an oil can and shake it.
Though I think sometime later, or no, maybe it's here also where Mix is saying oh, it's when they're talking about Megatron and the Decepticons, and he just kind of says over his shoulder, he's like, yeah.
I mean, Megatron had good oil and all, but his management skills stink.
But yeah, and then it was kind of a but moment, right? Which I think is beautiful. And also the tragedy of this whole episode, because they were having that moment of yeah, we don't need oil. We just need to do a good job. Let's consider trading sides. And then the fucking forklift comes to life and ruins all of it.
I'm the boss.
Well, yeah. the dirt boss. And I imagine we will have no opportunity to forget what this guy's name is. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the unfortunate placement of Scrapper's hook.
Oh, yeah.
People expect certain things from this show, and I can't disappoint.
Is Lita back there? Is she on?
he becomes erector at that point, but and at one point, where he's snagging on whatever is in there, he's really struggling, turns into robot mode and I don't know why that would give him more leverage, because I would think he would have a more firm base in a construction bot mode. But regardless, he turns into robot mode. This hook crane thing is in a very unfortunate spot, and I believe Mix even reaches around him at one point.
No, don't.
Well, he could be trying to get better leverage by pulling higher on the shaft.
This is all.
Yes.
Right.
I love it.
All right.
All right, fine. Okay, well, thank you for indulging me. We're here.
I'm here taking thoughtful notes. I'm not getting some of these visual gags that you guys are, and you're just over here wringing your hands.
It's also a fishing thing.
Quite so. I mean, it is more of a fishing analogy than anything, because it's like, whoa, I got something. It's a whopper, all right. I could have used somebody saying like it's a whopper, all right, when he pulls out this this forklift that turns into this little gremlin here.
Yeah. Well, yeah, let's get right into this. Let's discuss. I mean, we officially have a new Constructicon. Dirt Boss is on the scene. He's an angry elf, man. He's got that little gremlin energy big time. I love it. Frankly, I love this little guy. And this is where I did kind of take the TF wiki, because I wanted some confirmation, and it says like, this took a while, but we finally got confirmation via Derek J. Wyatt's Twitter feed that this is homage to Gurren Lagann, that anime we've discussed a few times in regards to this show. This was like, if he didn't say that, this would be the nail in the coffin either way, that it was inspired by this, because the drill motif, the shape of it, everything screams Gurren Lagann. So I was glad to finally have some confirmation on that.
Yeah, and speaking of Gurren Lagann, there was I can't believe we missed this during Transwarped, but like, you know, even like a lot of like the Sorry stuff is kind of like a kind of homage and kind of touch on that a little bit. I was editing the episode and I was like, how did we not mention that? I don't even watch that anime, and I know that that's a thing from that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and then to kind of mirror that, Dirt Boss gets his magical girl transformation moment too. Like they really, we really get some a visual time on that guy.
I just had a horrible thought. Drill Boss, kill la kill.
I'm with you. I don't want to be, but I'm with you.
So the titular Dirt Boss here, I'm sorry,
That's Dirt Boss to you.
Voiced by John Mariano, who, according to the TF Wiki, is probably best known in animation circles for his role as the Good Feather Pigeon, Bobby from Animaniacs.
Oh, that's fantastic.
As well as Caesar Czar from The Tick. But like that's kind of the voice, and it's like, if you want to get like this Goodfellas style mafioso type of vibe, this is a really good voice here for that, for sure.
If you were wondering at this point if it was in fact a mafia themed thing, like that would be it, right? Like you got the Good Feathers guy, which to me, having not seen Goodfellas, is more my mafia speed, right? Like I grew up with the Animaniacs. That's my jam. I got a little down the rabbit hole of the toy for Dirt Boss, which was part of the Revenge of the Fallen line, and great radio. I'm going to hold mine up because I got my little guy here with his waggly little legs. But I picked this up, Mike. I'm pretty sure I picked this up the last time I saw you in person, which was TFCon LA 2019.
Oh, wow.
That was my pickup there for sure. But I just think it's so cool. I love that lime green yellow. I love the big red dot in the chest. And it's one of those toys where it's like, I don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg here, because it came out for that toy line. The toy line came out obviously after the movie, which was 2 months after this episode aired. But everybody was kind of working on this stuff. Probably, they went right to work on Revenge of the Fallen right after the first one. So all of this was happening. This particular toy was actually designed by Eric Siebenaler, who, as we know, has huge kind of influence on this show and has done a lot. So this must be like the Revenge of the Fallen lockdown toy, where it kind of shares that energy of, maybe they were pre-creating kind of homages to Transformers Animated, or maybe one existed before the other. The interesting thing, though, is that this toy is actually based on a video game model from the first Transformers live action movie. So the actual look of him, predates Animated. So I don't know. And I don't think necessarily the video game character turned into a forklift. Maybe it did, but there wasn't anything distinctive about that. So it's not as clear cut as the Lockdown, which was definitely inspired by Animated. This design sort of existed beforehand.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah, I don't know.
And he's a fun little toy, right?
Yeah, I like mine's a little jiggly, a little spindly. He's got the stick legs going, but
sure.
Yeah, I love the colors on him. I love that. It's a little bit like the Ratchet from the live action movies, that kind of neon green.
Oh, gotcha. Without being like, electric lime, like, Constructicons. It's a little more subtle, which is kind of like the more muted color that Mix and Scrap are before they, like after they're brought to life with the Allspark fragment, but before they're fully branded as Decepticons, when it turns like really green, kind of like that pale yellow green type of thing.
Yeah, for sure. John, I guess we should ask at this point. It's a good time as any. Are you? What's your toy level? Are you toy collector?
I've got
a few?
exactly 3 Transformers. They're all sitting on my desk, and I fiddle with them.
Good. They're a fidget toy for you then.
Yeah, so I've got a tiny Soundwave.
Oh, is that the core class?
I believe so.
Yeah.
He's little, itty bitty.
He is.
Here's the Studio 86 Brawn for scale.
Yeah,
great choice. You got one for each of us here.
And then
what's your third one? Gotta know.
My favorite one I'm getting to is my Blitzwing.
Oh, nice.
Oh, is that a Legacy collection?
Yes.
Yeah.
This one's cool.
Sidebar here, really quick. Is that a pretty decent toy? Because there's a good deal on it right now, as a matter of fact. On one of my.
It's really cool. I really like the how you can make it into a tank and a plane. I always find that really interesting. Like the more you can do, and I really like it. I think it's fairly easy to remember how to transform it and stuff, which is important for me because I hate looking at the instructions.
Yeah,
right.
And I also don't have a whole bunch of them, so like I can kind of just remember. Yeah, I like him. He's good. He's, again, for scale. Here's the Brawn. He's about properly scaled to the Brawn.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
he's a big dude. He is a big ass leader class figure.
Yeah,
and it's kind of funny because like when you pose him with like other figures, it's like, did he need to be this big? Like I have mine next to Tarn on my shelf, and I'm like, I wish they were flopped. Like I wish Tarn was as big as Blitzwing and Blitzwing was as small as Tarn. That kind
I don't know. I always pictured Blitzwing as a pretty big one because he stands shoulder to shoulder with Astro Train most of the time, and Astro Train's big.
Yeah. But regardless, he's a great figure. A really good likeness. I think it's a really good representation of what like G1 Blitzwing should look like. I really like
man. I might have to go find that sale. That might be my bread and butter tonight.
I don't know what there were as far as options, but I'd really like to find if they have any animated Blitzwings, because animated Blitzwing is by far my favorite Decepticon.
Oh,
he's pretty cool.
So cool.
Of animated, he's great.
Yeah, I think I've kind of talked about that figure on this show before to some length. I don't super get into the toy talk about animated figures, specifically each one, but that one is just so cool. Like, it's got a good heft to it. It's real chunky, real solid feel. Unlike some of the other ones that get a little spindly, that one's just a really cool figure.
I also really like triple changers.
Sure,
yeah.
They're cool. And playing one in the Transformers role-playing game, which I have criticisms of, but is overall decent, is a lot of fun.
Nice.
Yeah,
gotcha.
So
gives you a little versatility in the field, probably.
Yeah.
I would imagine there's more stats you have to remember being two vehicles, right?
It's generally the only way you can be a triple changer is by like if it's D&D, your class equivalent, because it's very D&D, like 5e adjacent. Your class
I was gonna say,
equivalent.
did you like know you were a triple changer, and or did you announce that right away to everyone, or did you do that thing where you're like in the middle of being like, I'm also a triple changer?
No, I looked at the rules and I was like, okay, what are my options? Fighter, cool. Marksman, cool. Devastator thing, cool. Leader, maybe. Mode Master, the hell's that?
Nice.
And it's like you can either be a triple changer or you can get like a Soundwave-esque mini-con partner for that class as like your gimmick. So that it's fun. It's a fun game. It's just not very well balanced. So I would have to go back through and do balancing. Though offer stands, I'm always willing to run it.
Right.
Ooh, hey, that's good to know.
I love it. Send your correspondence to 2mikes2furious@gmail.com, and we'll pass it on to John for you.
Yeah.
John Hasbro, call me maybe. Here's my number.
Yeah. So if you want to try out the Renegade one, I'm down to run it. I might have an addendum of changes though.
Down for it.
Yep.
So with Dirt Boss here, and I love this dialogue so much because like he says, so much so fast. This is just like a fast talking little gremlin. He's like,
What are you cogs looking at? You want a piece of me? Try it and you'll be going to scrap you on the crank and box.
you know, he goes like full Joe Pesci with the quickness. But I love Bulkhead's response here. He's like,
Whoa! Someone's got a big chip on his engine block.
and I always love that TFA style wordplay where things have different meanings. But like this whole thing, he's like just going on and on about like who's taking orders from the man and that kind of stuff. But like the thing that struck me, and I tossed this in my G1 score, when he's he's like, hey,
move this, move that. Well, forget about it.
That I'm in charge now. It reminds me of I forget which episode it is. Maybe it's City of Steel, but it was like it's one of the season 2 Constructicon episodes of G1 where like Long Haul is lamenting the fact that he's a dump truck, and he's like,
Remove, always remove. I didn't join this outfit to be a dump truck.
I doubt that that's a reference to that, but that was just something that struck me as something that I remembered. But like, even Scrapper here, he's like talking to Mix, and at this point, Mix has been the boss. So Scrap, it's funny to see Scrap be like, hey, yo, Mix, what's going on with this guy? And and then it's like, we already alluded to it, but it's like,
Who stole and made him boss?
it's like, no, that's Dirt Boss to yous. And pops off, and he's Danny DeVito. He just comes out, he's like,
Anyway, I started blasting. Bang, bang.
starts lobbing cerebro shells at fools. Like, what? Like, he immediately chooses violence.
This guy's got such classic little man energy, or like little man syndrome, right?
Yeah.
Like he's such this little firecracker. He's, compensating heavily for something. And it's interesting because he's almost got the closest thing to a gun of any of the characters on the show so far, right? Like, like he really is. And it's this beautiful kind of synergy because you have like the drill bit bullet, which is a symbolism from Gurren Lagann, but it's also giving him a gun, which completely plays into that like compensating for something little man syndrome. And also it makes him like really deadly, and the fact that it's a bullet really makes it kind of like scary, and it needs to be something scary enough that the much bigger Constructicons and Bulkhead are like, okay, yeah, all right, we'll do what you want to say, bud.
There's one line I really did like when he first pops out. Scrapper turns to Mix and goes,
What the slag is that?
and Bulkhead goes, if I had to guess, it would be
A forklift, a Headmaster unit, an Allspark fragment, and a whole lot of trouble.
That's a very specific answer. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh
that was a good
my
line.
But yeah, it's like, so Dirt Boss kind of earns his name both figuratively and literally, in that like he launches this like I'm just going to call it cerebro shells. I'm sure it's something else entirely, but that's to me, that's the coding. It's like he's just being bombshell here with he has like mind control bullets, which is nuts. But basically, like I took it too literally. It's like, he's bossing over Scrapper here, and just really it's just like we spend a lot of time talking about the burger bot, and it feels like this quit hitting yourself routine goes on for hours. It's just like, I feel like in the background when like other conversations are happening, and it's just like, Scrapper's just punching himself in the head, and he's like, yeah, quit hitting yourself, quit hitting yourself, quit hitting yourself. This goes on forever.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it is very much Bombshell, because much like Bombshell, he also fires it from his forehead.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, even the little structural thing looks like Bombshell's little head cannon thing.
Yeah, kind of Bombshell-esque. And the line is, it's like, it's not quit hitting yourself. He's like,
You got a problem? You got a problem? Oh! You got a problem?
You got a problem with me?
it's like, yes, a well-documented one. Thank you.
This might be a good time to bring up, I guess, how familiar are all of us with kind of the movies that are getting spoofed here? the Casino, the Goodfellas, Scarface, White Heat. Like these movies I haven't actually seen. I'm not big up on not even Godfather in my case. Do any of you have any experience with these? Are we going in blind?
I don't watch mob movies.
Yeah, being the resident old of the group, yeah, I consumed this content, so yeah, a lot of this stuff resonated.
Did you have a Scarface phase, Mike? Did you have like posters and all the goods?
Not specifically me, but like I had friends who did, and it's like I had a buddy who had a Scarface phase, and certainly like the culture of the time certainly had a Scarface phase. Like there wasn't a time where you could walk into like a shitty gas station, like, the one that has like bongs and pipes and butterfly knives and Scarface posters on the wall. That eventually got replaced with Pulp Fiction posters, that kind of thing. So yeah, I was kind of, that's kind of, I don't know, early aughts dude bro culture. I would say for sure. Like I don't even like Scarface all that much, the movie. I think it's a little too cartoonish for my taste. Like things like Goodfellas, Godfather, and Scarface are not of a kind. They're kind of like they're almost separate genres in terms of like the types of movies that they are. They're both good at what they do, but they do different things. That kind of thing. But yeah, no, I like me some mob movies for sure.
I guess the only one, and I will have a nod to this later. The one that I'm really love is The Untouchables. And I think that's probably because that's not a true mobster movie, because it's more on the side of the officers, the agents of the task force. So maybe that's why I glommed onto that. But yeah, I'm in the same boat. But I did work at Spencer's Gifts for a hot minute, kind of around the college era. And we had a section for Scarface that you could, it was like a whole section, Scarface shot glasses, posters, all the gear. So, and that was about the time this show was out. So, they're probably hitting on something.
Yeah. Arf. Save it. Keep it. Send it back to the late 2000s.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it all got dumped into a dumpster, priced out and dumped. I don't think.
So what is Scarface like the American Psycho of the previous generation?
Sort of, yeah.
God, worst people.
That's apt, and actually, I think that's very apt in that like the people that glom onto it identify with it for the wrong reasons. Like that, like I'm sure like what you're getting at, John, is that there are people that think that Patrick Bateman is an aspirational figure. And much like with Scarface, people think that Tony Montana, Al Pacino's character in Scarface, say hello to my little friend. They see that as aspirational, that kind of thing. The people that watch Breaking Bad and get the wrong idea. It's like that's not the character you're supposed to be rooting for.
You know what I should
man.
That sounds pretty good.
Dang it. Now I'm just thinking Dirt Boss is on his Sigma grind set.
Yes.
Well, but that you're nailing it though, because there is a lot of Headmaster in Dirt Boss. Like, like that, kind of like attitude wise, that is, like that's the way I read it. It's like there's a lot of like, it's not necessarily the same manner of speaking, it's not like, gamer speak, meme speak, that type of thing. But the attitude is very, very similar.
Yeah, 100%.
Hey, I'm Dirt Boss. I'm done forking around. I'm going to take over this town now.
Yeah.
For reasons.
we of course can't, though, ignore the cutaway to the most important scene in all of this whole episode. Yes. The Autobots on their side quest. We get a brief glimpse. This is where kind of we were alluding to earlier, where they're having this conversation at the edge of the giant crater of Lugnut's T-Poke, but talking about Megatron. And this scene's kind of cool because they do end up using all their weapons, like literally all of them, to try to get the stasis cuffs on Lugnut. But again, I'm still not, I'm hopeful here, but I'm still not convinced this was a great side quest for the Autobots. This was just a little much. This was like trying to like, I don't know, roll over a dog for 30 minutes. Like, what are we doing here?
Well, and I think you're right, because like the first motion of it is pretty cool. And it shows how powerful Lugnut is. And, for all you scale porn lovers, it shows just how massive Lugnut is. Like at one point, like later on, he's like smushed on top of Ratchet, and Ratchet, who is like, kind of like a Voyager scale figure, is dwarfed by the size of Lugnut. But like I like the first motion of it, where it's like, all of them have to use their different skills in combat. You get a nice pole vault axe from Optimus, which I'm always a fan of. So I like, again, I'm not precious about that realism stuff. It's called Transformers Animated. It's unabashedly a cartoon. So yeah, so there's no reason why that handle can't extend, like 50 feet to where he can like, pole vault it over the crater. I like that kind of stuff.
Mass shifting.
Absolutely. Yeah. There it is. It's
out the window.
cause and solution to all the world's problems. Mass shifting.
Yeah.
I like to picture, Mike, that you were watching this scene with your animated Optimus toy, then like when you kind of pull out your thing and like a little impotent click, and you're like,
Yes. I don't know, man. That extendable handle gives a very satisfying click when it extends and snaps into place. It's pretty cool. And again, for the toy, just enough length. It's like it could always be longer, but maybe it's not about the length. That's what you do with it. I think it
sure.
Yeah, we're right on track.
Moving on. So
it's a good thing there aren't any female characters in this episode, because we'd be really dead.
Yeah. Or at all. So
damn it. Black Arachnia versus the Constructicons would be a great episode.
Oh my gosh, yes. Give that to me. Hey, Michael Andrews, where's Black Arachnia?
There it is. There we go. Drink.
I'm telling you, like I'm on a milk carton, dude. It's like, have you seen me? Black Arachnia. Oh my goodness. Maybe she'll come back at some
Where's
point.
slow-mo while we're at it? Come on.
Right? Come on.
Well,
man.
I mean, they've confiscated her Allspark fragment.
That's true. That's true.
Unlike the rest of the SUV, she's actually kind of dependent on that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and again, in the realm of too soon, bro, where are my human supervillains? Where are any of them? That's what I mean. Again, I'm going to start putting out like missing persons reports. Oh, maybe we should do that on the socials or something. Make like missing persons for the human supervillains. I think that would be kind of fun. Wanted
more than missing.
So I don't remember how much intercutting there is back and forth, but basically, like the Autobots get the upper hand on Lugnut, and they eventually get him in a set of stasis cuffs. And I, again, with the sheer scale of Lugnut, like one pair isn't going to do it. So they get him like, half done, and Lugnut's like lipping off at him. And eventually they get like a second and third set kind of like Jay-Z chained together. And so basically Lugnut is incapacitated, but we have a new problem. Now he's incapacitated at the bottom of this ravine. Or you would think that the Autobots would think to, handcuff him like on the street or something like that. It's like you didn't think this out too very good.
I mean, he is trying to kill them while they're putting the handcuffs on.
Oh, that is true.
Right.
That is true.
This, I don't want to dog this show, but when in a show where we've seen such tight writing, tight situations, great tension, all this stuff, this whole giant side plot of like, how do we get this heavy object out of a hole in the ground, just seems a little superfluous, especially for a seasoned writer that's written some of these like heavy hitting episodes. Like, I just wish there's a little something better to be done here.
Yeah.
Well, I think the point is to illustrate that the Autobots need Bulkhead to get their job done, and Bulkhead would not have made this choice if the other Autobots were there. So in a way, they've kind of both screwed themselves by not working together.
That's actually a great point.
100%, he would be like, we should hire the Constructicons, and Optimus would be like, absolutely the hell not.
Right.
Or he would go, sure, but we're going to supervise them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Or just the simple fact that their muscle's missing, right? Like their big brawn is missing. Yeah, that's a great point. Like they're showing them as kind of like, that's great. We've always dogged on Bulkhead, but now we need some muscle and we don't have it.
Well, because Bulkhead is the lug nut counter because he's the only one that can brawl with him.
Right. Well, and Bumblebee even calls that out at some point because he's like, hey man, we need some muscle. Let's call Bulkhead. And then that's when you go back to Sumdac Tower and Bulkhead is dealing with, the dirt boss of it all. And he's like, yeah, man, I'm busy working. I'm too busy washing my hair. Sorry, I can't come and help. Like, the whole thing is just really weird that like they're like these two separate things happening separated from each other. It's intentionally disjointed and like you said, Michael Anders, it is kind of like some kind of weak writing, and it makes me wonder because again, as a first-time viewer, I don't know what like the behind the scenes stuff is, and I've been kind of trying to avoid it where I can. It's like I hear rumors this is around the time that like the show's kind of being more interfered with Hasbro, like trying to, I don't know if they're just trying to sell more toys or what the quote unquote interference is. Like, I don't know what that is. We can autopsy that after we get through these season 3 episodes. But like, I wonder if this is a casualty of that. It's like, maybe like things are slipping for the sake of contrivance. Because like you go back to a lot of those G1 episodes and many of them are straight up not good. Because they're just trying to crank them out, and they're either trying to sell toys or they're just trying to crank stuff out. It's like,
how dare you?
Yeah, right. It's like, yeah, we need 56 episodes of a cartoon made in 6 months. Get to it. It's like it doesn't matter if it's good or not.
Well, because you, as I have actually learned from my other interest, Robotech, you actually needed like 50 something episodes to run the cartoon.
Yeah, for syndication.
Right.
Yeah. Actually, that's good that you brought that up, Mike, because actually I was doing a little research on this for Transwarped, but this episode in particular, Three's a Crowd, was the reason that Transwarp got made, because the word came down from Hasbro, it sounds like, that they wanted to do like a 3-part movie to start the series. And the original idea was to take the first 3 episodes of the show and make it a 3-part thing. And Three's a Crowd would have been like the finale of that. And that's when but they said that one like didn't fit at all. So they're like, all right, scrap it. We're going to write our own new 3-part episodes. And then we're going to kick off with Three's a Crowd. And that might explain some of the other weird stuff of like why the Christmas episode aired in April. I mean, there's a lot of things that could be answered by this kind of moving things around.
And I wonder if at this point by 2009, if Hasbro is already starting to look ahead to the new thing. Like, again, I have no evidence to substantiate this, but look what happened to something like Transformers Earthspark. Enthusiastically supported it at front, but then like it's like, sure, we're going to commission another season, but then it's like, oh, well, we're going to move to a cheaper studio and we're going to chop season 2 in half, or like into thirds, I think. And we're just going to call the last third, quote unquote, season 3. Like, to the point where I haven't even watched those episodes. Like I was a huge fan of Earthspark season 1, but then like it was just, actually, no, I'm a big fan of the first 2/3 of season 1 of Earthspark. There's a reason why Mike and the Earthsparkles never really assembled to do the last third of it.
Why the band broke up.
Yeah, because like it didn't really land for me, and it, from what I understand, like the returns continued to diminish in a sharp decline. And that's the thing that I'm kind of afraid of. It's kind of like the rose and the thorn, kind of like bittersweet thing about season 3. From what I understand, these episodes are all bangers, but there's precious few of them. And like at some point, the animation's going to decline. And I think we're already seeing some of like that other weird decline here kind of in the writing. So I wonder what the mindset was ideas of the creative team here in March of 2009, as opposed to in 2007, 2008, when this stuff was really cooking.
You know, maybe they had to move on to Revenge of the Fallen coming out in a couple months.
Sure.
Obviously, this is going to be the biggest sequel of all time. People are going to love it. No one's ever going to have a problem with it. Let's really refocus on Revenge of the Fallen.
Yeah, we should really face towards the future. Really get facing. Yeah, all right. I've aired my complaint. Moving on.
Yeah.
Well done. Perfect. But in this scene where this is, I think this is what I was alluding to earlier with the perspective of Isaac Sumdac just does not get it. It's the Dirt Boss stuff is happening. It's Bulkhead, it's Mix and Scrap, and la-di-da, around the corner comes Isaac Sumdac, and all these robots are like, what the fuck is that thing? That insect there? What is going on here with this? And Bulkhead's really trying to kind of like play it off. He's like, oh, he's my servant.
He doesn't order us around. I order him around.
Hey, servant, why don't you go finish this plasma dynamic thruster doohickey type of thing? And Isaac, like, you think he's playing along because he's like, yeah, I'll go do that, you know, wink, wink, nod, nod. But even then, like, over his shoulder, he's like,
I take back what I said before. You are worse than working for Megatron.
Bulkhead doesn't just go, hey, servant, you should maybe go. He's like, servant, do the damn thing. I'm going to beat you.
Yeah, that's
you know?
I said move it, human. I want it done yesterday.
that is true. But yeah, yes. It is just kind of funny though that that Isaac just doesn't get it. So is it at this part where Dirt Boss basically like lays out his plan, like we're going to take over the world via oil, and like, which not for nothing, if we were rating the scheme like a different podcast, I would say that this would be pretty high, because, like, you know, of course, commandeering and taking control of the oil supply makes a lot of sense as a villain plan. I kind of don't have a problem with that conceptually. Execution wise, it gets a little ropey, but like on its face, it's not a bad plan.
He does have another really good line, which I think also plays into the mobster sort of thing, because as some people are aware, certain unions had a lot of mob ties. And Dirt Boss's thing goes,
bots like us, we helped build this city. And now we're going to take a piece of it back.
Right.
Yeah, with interest.
Right. Yeah, with interest. Yeah. that is such a that's such a great line here too. But
there's a lot of like little things in this scene that I really like.
I'm gonna caveat that with, I'm pro labor. It's just a true fact of history.
Sure.
Nope, sorry, we're cutting all that out. Sorry, that'll never come across here. I'm so sorry.
Damn it.
Oh man, 2M2F : Union Busters.
Oh god, 2M2F, the Pinkertons.
Yeah, there it is. There it is.
Oh Jesus, damn it! Fuck, Hasbro would do that too.
Or yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because keeping in mind that whole Netflix series with all non-union voice talent.
Oh, I was more referencing that they own Wizards of the Coast, and Wizards very recently hired Pinkertons to storm someone's house and take magic cards from them.
Yes. Oh, that's right. I remember that. Man, that feels like a lifetime ago. My goodness.
It's been like 2 years, but yeah.
I know, that's what I mean. It's like, it feels like
a lot of weird stuff happened with the Pinkertons that year. That was also the year they had their Pride stand where they were trying to recruit gay Pinkertons.
Oh.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard about that. That's interesting.
Yeah, they had like there was a Pride job fair and there was a Pinkerton booth and it got a lot of flack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
bizarre history here.
Sorry, I'm full of this kind of thing.
No, it's good stuff. And again, Hasbro notoriously not a great company.
Yeah.
Not a great company. I mean, like, I'm happy to, you know, buy their wares and things like that, but also with the caveat, it's like, you're not a good company. Sorry.
I don't know if I like them more or less than Harmony Gold, but Jesus.
Oh, I mean, Harmony Gold is literally the devil. I mean, come
Yeah,
on.
I know.
I mean, there can't be a comparison there, right? I don't know.
Thanks.
Um,
If I may, yeah, right to train here. No, but there's a couple really great moments I like in here. First of all, I just love the stalwart little thing that Dirt Boss is. I would really like a proper toy of this. I'm not sure if it's feasibly possible to make one, but God, I really want a little toy of like a animated specific one.
Oh, sure.
Not the one we have from the ROTF line.
mm-hmm.
But I love, yeah, you're right. I love the plot here. I love his, big ambitions. I love the line, "I got your Sheboygan right here."
I got your Sheboygan right here.
Funny word, also great line.
I gotta get this load of Sheboygan.
Yes.
And I love this montage that comes out of it too.
Yes, because when he pops out, he drills Bulkhead because I guess he can sense that Bulkhead is the only one that has a compass.
Right.
Oh,
yeah.
right.
And then Bulkhead tries to go, maybe we shouldn't do that, and then he's like, we're leaving you behind. We can't have you slowing us down, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm glad you brought that up because that's the other thing I really love here too. Is I love this idea that the brain bullets. That's what I call them because it's more like the Last Stand of the Record language.
Sure.
The brain bullets, but the weird brain bullets. But I love that they undrill and he reloads with them. That definitely adds more to the gun motif, right? So much in animated is just unlimited ammo type thing. And instead we have this little thing where he actually has to get the bullet back and push it back in his head.
I think he only has one.
Right.
Oh, that's possible. I took it he had a couple, but maybe that makes sense.
No, because he only ever uses one at a time.
Sure.
Right. And he's shown specifically retrieving it. Gimme this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he pulls it out. He pulls it out of Bulkhead's head, and then he goes, "Does anyone else want some?" And the other one's like, "No."
That's
right.
Good.
He shoves it back in there quick.
Yeah.
No, that's good. I think that's smart too, probably to make it. I think there was some definite thought put into how can we make this guy not OP? If he does have an unlimited supply of mind control missiles, show over, right? We're done here.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really good point.
So like you had alluded to earlier, Michael Andrews, you get a crime montage, and I do like a crime montage, but not only do I love a crime montage, but like an old timey one with actually old timey spinning newspaper. I love this trope; it's so funny, and it's and you see an escalation. It's oh no, tanker trucks are being stolen. Oh no, oil prices are skyrocketing. Oh no, profits are sinking. It's there's 4 of them or something. It's crazy.
Yeah.
A couple of things that I noticed that I rather enjoyed. One, the Union boys, they're back.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, gotta love them.
Are they contemplative? I don't know, but they're back.
Yeah, there's one driving the truck. And 2, I don't remember the name of the company. It's the oil company with the dinosaur logo.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Fossil fuels, I think.
No, the real world one.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
The one that the king in Cars races for.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's Dynaco.
Dynaco. I don't know if you noticed, but they have the Dynaco Brontosaurus, but instead of it being the Brontosaurus, it is sludge.
Yep.
Yes, I love that so much. That's so cool, and it's such a cool little stylized version of them too.
Yeah,
that was really nice.
Yeah, I just love that it fits both because the Dynaco thing is a Brontosaurus, real sludge looking dinosaur. So it's motif wise, it fits perfectly.
We gotta figure out who the real company. We can't keep saying Dynaco this whole thing. What is the real company that uses that? It's
Sinclair Oil.
Sinclair. Yes. Thank you. Yeah.
And the just to avoid copyrights and stuff, it's flipped. So it's it says Sinclair on top with the dinosaur below, as opposed to dinosaur on top with the wording below. But it's still kind of similar shades of green. It is a predominantly green logo.
Sure.
Except for the on-brand Dino bot coloring.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
The actual sign with the words on it.
Now that I think about it, kind of weird because there isn't a sludge in TFA.
Correct.
So maybe this just existed before?
Yeah, I think it's just kind of a funny nod to just the one they didn't put in, right? Or like one of the characters they don't.
The one that got away.
It asks a lot of questions, definitely more than it answers.
It does, unfortunately. I think they put stuff like that for assholes like us to talk about 15 years later.
Right. Well, it reminded me of what was it, like the Autobot bumper sticker that they used to put the Band-Aid over on Bumblebee when he got that oil leak in his arm for some weird reason. Another Constructicon episode, actually. But yeah, it's that same kind of thing of like, who made this? Who's this for? What company is putting out these materials?
Yeah. Michael Andrews' favorite, Bumblebee's leaky arm.
Oh, God. I'm haunted by the image of like him being like almost sedated while this stuff's leaking out of his arm. Like he's just flipping it around. He doesn't even know that he has an arm at that point.
Nasty.
Just disturbing.
Gross.
Also, at some point, I don't know if I think it's around now. Right, it's as they're leaving the tower, Bulkhead gets on the comms and goes, "Hey, I've got a problem."
Yeah. Like, now he wants to announce it, that kind of thing. And yeah, so the Autobot's still at the crater with the now unconscious, incapacitated Lugnut. It's like, yeah, we got our own problems. Go have your own episode.
This is like either the world's shortest crime spree or the Autobots are taking the world's longest time getting Lugnut out of this crater. Because we have this montage that seemingly points to like a week's worth of criminal activity at minimum. And then they're still at this crater like,
I mean, there's multiple iterations of this newspaper. Like this is like either multiple days or like how much time has passed. That kind of thing.
In the future, we've gone back to the old style of newspaper after we outlawed social media to bring it back to make the world better.
Awesome.
I was reading War of the Worlds the other day.
Yeah,
and they're like, and the guy just keeps buying newspapers. Like he buys one at like 10 in the morning and then like one at 2 and then like one at 7 and you're like, what the hell is going on? Because it's the same newspaper.
Right.
Right.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Because like they used to print like multiple every day because
like news would change. They'd try to get it out that fast.
Because you couldn't just be like, oh, let me get on Twitter.
So I guess there is some like credibility to maybe this didn't happen over a long time. But yeah, just the fact there's a montage in the newspapers, it's like that thing they do in reality shows when they want to show someone's talking for a long time, where they kind of fade to like them still talking and fade into the next picture. Like I was just like, why are they trying to stress so much time has passed when this side plot is taking so long to accomplish?
Right. Now, before we move off of this,
it took them several days to get Lugnut off of Ratchet to come help.
That's right.
Yes, exactly. Because this has to be entire days, right? Like this isn't like one crazy day. It can't be. Impossible.
I think it is.
Yeah. Well, they're working hard because they're being led by Dirt Boss.
Hey.
Oh man, you got a problem? Yes, yeah, very specifically, well documented. Before we move off of this, did you all catch the name of the newspaper?
No.
It's the Detroit Powell Press.
Yeah. Interesting.
So what, it's funny. We were doing so well about talking about like banning social media and all of that other stuff. But like the implication now is that Porter C. Powell owns the newspaper. It's like it's a real J. Jonah Jameson situation here. It's like, oh, Spider-Man, he's a criminal.
To be fair, Powell does have a personal issue with all Transformers, it seems.
Yes.
So it could very well be he's just like throwing papers and it's like not actually that big a deal.
Right. It's just printing them off.
That's such a great angle because he's literally just being J. Jonah Jameson. Oh, these robots are out of control. Robot mayhem. Maybe like the oil company isn't having like all of these financial problems that Powell is trying to like exaggerate and like be sensational about. Oh, that's crazy.
And where did these robots come from? The failing subdax system.
Right? Oh my God, he's going to impose tariffs on the fossil fuel company now.
Yeah, I was gonna say our Trump stand-in on this show now owns a media outlet, so I'm sure that's not going to be reflective of society anytime.
Oh, sure.
I'll breeze past that.
Yeah. We'll just kind of keep going there. We already talked about the dock worker guys, our favorite union boys, our G1-esque union boys, including the driver of the tanker truck, who may or may not be Sparkplug Witwicky, may or may not be the same guy who is the contemplative coffee drinking union boy, our favorite there. But yeah, so basically from so they are we already to the refinery? Like
we're going back to kind of the refinery.
They kind of go on a crime spree. Wait, no, because as they rob the last truck, Bulkhead shows up to stop them.
Ah, gotcha. Oh, that's right. Yeah, there's this whole motion in the middle there, and Dirt Boss reveals his plans to blow up the refinery, and his whole plot is to have control over the largest supply of oil in the city. Bulkhead can't stand aside anymore and decides to go on the attack. But basically, what happens is he chucks his wrecking ball arm, and
that's later.
That's later.
Yeah, he confronts them on the bridge, and Mixmaster gets to do his thing, and he cements his feet to the bridge.
Stuck. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And then they flee with the oil that they have taken, right? Before anything else can happen.
This is where they take it back to the base. They get the oil there, and this is where our original Constructicons are just like, all right, oil.
Right. Blood.
And we're back to the blood, piss, shit, beer of Cybertronians everywhere. Oil. We don't know what it is, but they want to drink it. They're just gonna have a chug fest, right? They're gonna drink it down. But Dirt Boss, he's got other plans for this.
We didn't steal this oil just so you cogs can guzzle the profits.
Well, and he basically says, like, I think this was earlier. This was during like the crime montage, I think, where it's like they go to drink the oil, and
no, that's now.
Oh, that's now. Okay.
Yeah, because they're in the warehouse.
Oh, right. And it's like, that's not for drinking. That's for thieving.
Yeah, exactly.
That kind of thing. And it's fascinating too that Dirt Boss doesn't have the same, maybe he's got a better handle on his alcoholism than Mix and Scrap do, but yeah, he does not seem to have the same appetite for oil that the other two do.
Well, Dirt Boss is the mob boss that owns the speakeasy where he recruits all these guys from.
Right.
Yeah, this felt really mafia to me because it was like the grunts that want the stuff, right? But the boss doesn't want them on the junk, doesn't want them on the take, doesn't want them hooked on their own supply, kind of a thing. He does a little bit, right, to keep them in line, but now you're not going to be eating up my profits.
Right. Yeah. Don't get high on your own supply, that kind of thing, which, and that's kind of smart. Like, Dirt Boss, for all of his quirks, he's kind of an effective mob boss in a way. Like he's got a good plan, and so far the execution of it is kind of okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the start of this scene though, because it is just like Constructicons back to their own thing. We've seen it 100 times, right? All they want to do is get back and kick back with a can of oil, and then he kind of comes in and like busts up the whole ring, and he's like, "No, we got bigger fish to fry." Love it. Both very mafiosi stuff, and also just like playing on what we know about these guys already. We know exactly where this is going, that they're gonna go back and just have a drink, and then here we switch it up.
Right.
And much like I don't know, probably about half of G1, we got to go fight in an oil refinery now.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
I mean, that in itself is a full point on the G1 score. It's like, oh, we're fighting over energy resources. Okay, great. How positively 1980s there. It's like, it's coming out of Jimmy Carter's energy crisis. It's like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Though to be fair, that they were saying that there's not actually an energy shortage on Earth.
That is true. That is true. So I think it's here then that Bulkhead reconfronts the trio, and I think it's here where like his wrecking ball gets stuck in Mixmaster's arm cannon because he's like, I'm not falling for that shit again. It's like, you're not gonna you're not gonna sling your goop on me again, you prick. And then gets his he plugs it off.
Phrasing.
Yeah.
Oh, God. What are we doing here?
Like I'm just gonna keep going until somebody stops me. It's terrible.
Wikipedia, the online encyclopedia, defines. Never mind.
Yeah,
exactly. But this is kind of funny because like they decide to go to the refinery, and instead of like detaching the cable or anything, they just drag Bulkhead with them, which. Yeah. Not the smartest idea, but it is definitely a power move for sure. Like, it's like, you're helpless to stop us, so much so that we're going to drag you along for our evil plan.
Yeah, right.
Dirt Boss reveals they're going to blow it up.
We got work to do.
And then Bulkhead, to try and seed some confusion, goes, but then where will you get the oil?
Oh, we didn't think of that.
Yeah, I thought that was a great point. Actually, I was just like, this is like where that little man syndrome's taking over, right? Like it's just blow something up. Now we're seeing him a little more unhinged from.
Well, he's only thinking short term because he's like you said, if they blow up the refinery, they've got all of the oil in Detroit, and then they can sell it as they want or whatever for profit. But then once it's gone, they're done.
Yeah, with the refinery gone, there's no more oil to sell, and more importantly, there's no oil to drink. Which again, that is where kind of mix and scrap, Mixmaster especially, kind of starts to waver a bit here.
Starts to scratch his neck. What are you talking about?
he starts getting the itch. He gets like the DTs here.
Yeah.
But then, so is it here where Bulkhead is finally like, okay, well, I need to try calling for help again, and now the Autobots are finally in a spot where they're just like.
We did miss a part where when one of the times before Bulkhead gets his fist stuck, he yells at Professor Sumdac again, but winks.
I don't want to hear your lame excuses, human. Now fix it right this time and make it snappy.
Right, because they're still not in on the bit. Like they're still not communicating like what's going on.
Correct. Yeah. So the Autobots decide they're going to leave Lugnut be. This will keep. We'll deal with this another time. Bulkhead is in actual trouble. We actually need to help this time. So they go to race off to the refinery. Meanwhile, Mixmaster.
Also, Optimus does make the good point of he's not going anywhere. We can't move him.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Turns out not to be a great point, but at the time, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, with the information at the time.
Yeah.
It seemed like a good idea at the time. And, maybe a strategic retreat is kind of like the a good idea. Maybe they should have like slapped another set of stasis cuffs on him or something. I don't know. Well, actually, given what happens, I guess that doesn't particularly matter.
Maybe they should have left Prowl behind to guard him.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. I mean, at least something.
Hindsight.
Dude, call Captain Fanzone. Right. I mean, somebody.
I don't know if you want to put the cops in between Lugnut and a potential Decepticon rescuer.
That's true. That's fair. That's fair.
Either way, this scene, there's a couple things I like in this next scene. Right, I don't know exactly how it happens, but there's fisticuffs and the globe of oil gets pierced in two spots, and they get that great shot of Mix and Scrap like chugging it. I like it for two reasons. Like one, it's funny, but also this is where I was talking about. It's like totally like the Untouchables, because there's this great scene in Untouchables that I always remember where the two bullets pierce some of the bootleg rum barrels, and Agent Wallace gets underneath it and he's like, woo, he takes a little sip of it, even though he's trying not to. He's the guy busting people for that during Prohibition. Just love that little moment. So that lent itself to the this episode could have all been like a prohibition themed thing, right? Like they could have done oil and beer and it was illegal and blah blah blah, but they didn't. They kind of went more of like the drug trade or like, you know, the mafioso protection scheme. So I would have liked to have seen that, but this felt like they were at least incorporating that. They were at least hearkening back to Untouchables, Prohibition, that sort of thing that I really love, that sort of gangster history.
Mm-hmm.
Bulkhead continues to have bad luck with his own bodily autonomy, and gets drilled again by Drill Boss.
Right.
And
this is a big one. This is like that visceral stabbing one, wasn't it?
Yes. Now that the Autobots are there, and then Drill Boss is trying to use him to beat up Optimus. Optimus does a little bit of, I don't remember what it's called, the policing martial art.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, right. The one that all the Autobots are supposedly proficient in.
Oh, the Metallicato or whatever?
No, it's not Metallicato. It's one of them. I don't know. It's been a while since I've been on that part of the wiki. There is that pretty great part where Bulkhead tries to use Mix as a wrecking ball while he's fighting Optimus.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, that was really good too.
His wrecking ball is still stuck in the guy's arm cannon, right? Like they're still tethered.
Yeah, they are for like pretty much the rest of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that leads to some interesting. One, I want to mention too, the completion of that 2 Constructicons chugging was 2 double roundhouse kicks to the face from Dirt Boss. Like he just turns into like this little powerhouse cannonball and roundhouse kicks them. Yeah. That was very nice viewing for my WWE Royal Rumble. I was really got me in the mood. Yeah. But yeah, that's that same thing. You know, the oil ain't for drinking, it's for torching, and this is where this whole thing comes from. And this is where we get to this idea that the whole "it's just business, nothing personal," you know, reference from Godfather, where you know we see him like being an expendable character. He's you know, Dirt Boss is going to easily dispatch Mixmaster.
Can't build a house without busting a few bricks.
And that doesn't fly with everybody. But I was surprised how much it flew with Scrapper.
It's just business, Mix, nothing personal.
Like I thought they were a little closer than that, but I knew they had to get the reference in, but just having him give up so quick. Ouch.
Yeah. It's and it we've seen these characters kind of drift over the few times that we've seen them. And I mean, granted, their you know, relationship was always kind of like, you know, I mean, again, we've always used the wet bandit mentality, you know, and it's like it was never really an even partnership if we step back and think about it.
Yeah, are they maybe only friends because they're coworkers? Kind of that whole motif that could definitely.
Or like, I don't know, Scrapper's probably more afraid of Dirt Boss than he is friends with Mixmaster.
That's true. Yeah, if he can be the cowardly one.
Excellent point. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right on that. So regardless, the Autobots are on the scene. Ratchet is able to extract the drill bit, the Cerebro shell, and Bulkhead uses basically the he really lubes it up. I mean, it's right there. I mean, it's like you're gonna open
lubes it up and pulls it out. All right.
Yep.
Pops are right.
Here we are. We've arrived.
Let's see. So
thankfully none of the characters have.
Right. Exactly. Thank you for arriving. But yeah, we get some throwing here. The 2 Constructicons, Mix and Scrap, are they basically, like, so earlier in the fight it was like, okay, we gotta be really careful because, like, you know can't use guns, you can't use knives, you can't use any of this stuff because like anything can make the thing go up, because I mean there is just oil, just rivers of it everywhere.
Blood, shit, beer everywhere.
Oh, that's disgusting. But like, I mean, I don't even want to be pedantic about, like, you know, how flammable raw unrefined oil is. I don't know if it's like gasoline, but let's pretend that it is. Regardless,
I mean,
it
burns similar.
This here burns better. Yeah.
Sure. But they're afraid of sparks. And basically, like, you know, if anything causes a spark, it could cause this whole thing to go up. And sure enough, that's what happens when Mix and Scrap collide. There's a Freudian slip there, you know, combined. But like but there is a spark, and it starts to set the trail of.
No, they do combine.
Constructicons unite!
Well, Yeah, technically.
Because when they slide together, Scrapper accidentally, and I'm going to stray away from the word I was about to use, gets his hand stuck.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot here. You're running into a real Mike Seibert situation, aren't you?
Man, I'm suddenly like Willem Dafoe and Spider-Man. I'm like, finish it! Finish it!
All right. Okay, so Scrapper accidentally fists Mixmaster in the stomach.
Now, that wasn't so hard, was it? She said, phrasing. Boom. Huh?
Yeah.
And his hand gets stuck.
Well, you're right. I mean, absolutely.
I promise the show did not start out intending to be accidentally dirty, but here we are. I mean,
there's a lot of holes getting plugged in this episode.
Now, I believe there was some mention of holes.
Phrasing. Boom.
That's the spirit.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. You know, as we search for the second entendre, it is just single entendre here. Only one.
Yeah.
I mean, don't even bother with double. Just
single entendre, our middle names.
Yeah, exactly. But basically, this place is on fire, and basically, like, Dirt Boss is on top of like the what would you call this thing? Like a big tank or whatever?
Yeah, it's a storage tank, I'd assume.
Yeah,
that could actually be processed oil now that because it's a refinery.
That's a good point.
Oh,
that is a really good point.
I don't know. I'm not up on my refinery structures. Like, is this a real world container, or is this just like symbolic of the globe and this is a cool shape for animators?
There are tanks that are like that. I mean, usually they're more like a house propane tank, but larger on the ground.
Yeah.
But like there would be reasons you'd put it up there, like maybe like you could maybe skip pumping it, like for offloading, like like a water tower. But like, yeah, I can't really think of a reason you'd make it like that. But
jumping ahead,
possible.
Right. Jumping ahead just a little bit. I mean, we get that line, which is a reference to another mafia movie, which is "I'm up on top of the world, cogs." Yeah. So I didn't know if that was like, maybe that was just globular for the symbolism of being up on top of the world, or if this was indicative of a real world structure. Like, I find it all very interesting, though.
It's interesting now that the world is on fire. Dirt Boss kind of seems to be okay with his fate. He's just kind of like, fuck it, we're going to hell tonight. You know, that kind of thing.
I think Dirt Boss is so self-centered, he cannot imagine a world where he doesn't pull this off and survive somehow.
Yeah.
And that is a great point of something I've been trying to bring up this whole episode, where this little man syndrome comes from must be Headmaster. Like, this must be some of the leftover programming of the Headmaster unit, because this is so Headley Masterson of like, I'm just in it for the money. I haven't really thought that far ahead. We almost said those exact same words, Mike, when we were talking about the first Headmaster episode, which he can't possibly fathom a world where they don't pay him the money and just move forward and the plan just goes off swimmingly. Like now we're seeing his sort of invention, his little brainchild, pun intended, is like having these same thoughts of like, yeah, this can't miss.
I think he is capable of understanding that his plan may not work. I just think he's too self-centered to acknowledge that maybe it won't work as well as he would like.
That could be, yeah.
So regardless, this thing is about to go up, and Isaac Sumdac, who has been on the scene the whole time, we missed the part where like he almost gets murdered by the Autobots. Like he like goes out into the street. He's like, "Oh hey, you know, don't run me over. Take me with you."
Bulkhead has been taken hostage by these weird mobsters.
Right, exactly. And it's like, well, get in. And they choose not to murder him this time. But basically Isaac is the one that suggests, it's like, hey man, with the use the spammer thing, the plasma dynamic thruster. And basically like, you know, use that, transwarp it away. And I think that am I mistaken? There's like a little bit of legislation here about like what the plasma dynamic thruster actually does and how that might actually like interfere with the transwarp field that Omega Supreme is using?
Yes.
Like I thought I heard something to the effect of like
there's some
from
concern.
from what I heard of it, it's like they're randomly teleporting because they like don't have a signal lock, and so the issue is that maybe they pulled the trigger on this, and it like the random teleportation with no destination will now have a destination.
Oh yeah, and it could. Right, there is sort of a danger, like you're sending it almost
because
like
like
a weapon of mass destruction.
Because like also like all of the Cybertronian space bridges are down. Like they're not
Correct.
using them right now.
Right.
Yeah,
Because they're all
and
turned
actually
off,
Bumblebee's the one that kind of brings this up in a rare move because he's actually been a victim of this like random transporting around the galaxy. So he actually
well, yeah, because that was the thing they used to bring him back when he had it happen to him, wasn't
right.
it?
Yeah.
Right. And then conversely, because of Bumblebee's experience with that, he's like, wait a minute, throw that on Omega, and then that will cause them to zip around the galaxy aimlessly. So I
feel so bad for Omega in this show.
Oh, he gets it so bad. It's so bad.
The most tragic character probably in this show.
Poor Snorlax. He just wants to sleep. Why won't you let me sleep?
Right.
I don't know. I feel like RC gets it pretty rough in this one too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was gonna say also RC, and they're connected, which is
and
like,
Ratchet. I pretty much everyone involved in Ratchet's life has it pretty
there's
bad.
a theme here of like who's the most tragic.
I am waiting for some kind of like lockdown tragic backstory because he's part of it too with like the EMP generator and all of that other stuff. It's like turns out there's some like old trauma bonding and that's why he chose bounty hunting or something like that. I don't know. It's like but it would be interesting like after we finish this journey to do like the trauma tally of like
Ratchet wins.
I mean, hands down. It's like it all funnels back to Ratchet. It's like it's really like he is dead center. He is the darkest, purplest spot of that Venn diagram of everyone else's trauma, tragic backstory for sure.
Also, the fight with Lugnut, I meant to bring this up earlier, completely forgot about it, but Lugnut mentions that like Bumblebee's battle grade stingers don't even really hurt him, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, this war must have been a nightmare for the Autobots, because like if that's battle grade,
right?
Do you not have a better? Because like you're not even.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and also though, why does Lugnut know that?
Well, it probably comparative to being shot by Bumblebee previously hurts a lot more.
Oh, he just knows the difference. He's like, oh, hey, you got an upgrade. It's like I could feel it a little more.
Yes.
That got
like taser
his
training.
Battle grade stingers now available in stores.
Yes. It's like, oh, I recognize those are those battle grade stingers. It's like, oh, you gave the child a gun. Congratulations, because Bumblebee is a child soldier. Let's not forget that.
I mean, he went through school.
that is fair enough.
He's the same age as Bulkhead.
Right. Good point. So regardless, they use the plasma dynamic thruster and this whole apparatus with the oil tank and all three Constructicons and who knows how much crude oil, whether refined or unrefined or whatever, all of that and the ensuing flames. Did the actual flames go in the transwarp?
No, because the only thing that was on fire at that point was the globe, because we had Optimus getting to use his extinguisher.
That's right. Yeah, you get some top tier Optimus.
I was hoping this didn't come up. Actually, I was trying to breeze past the fire extinguisher.
Oh, you don't want to have foam legislation? You don't want?
Oh boy, here we go with some creamy housing.
Well, earlier when he's fighting the Constructicons, Optimus does shoot. Never mind. He does use the foam gun directly into the face of one of the Constructicons.
Would you say it's all? You shot it all over him? Was that what
Money shot.
All over his neck and chest. Yes, exactly.
Yes. Well, I hope you're happy, Mike Seibert. I hope this is exactly what you dreamed of.
All right.
It's ruined. But yeah, so yeah, you're right. There is some top tier Optimus firefighting here. I love Optimus as a fireman. I just think that is so cool. Like I've always liked Fire Convoy. I like this. It's like, Optimus Prime should be a fireman more often. It's such a cool trope for him.
It does work.
He needs a calendar. This is a $1 million idea. An Optimus Prime firefighter calendar.
I'd buy that.
Yeah.
I'd buy that.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people who would.
Yes, we personally know.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So basically this whole apparatus is transwarped away, and wouldn't you know it, let me wind up, and here's the pitch. Meanwhile, on Dinobot Island.
Yeah.
Just in case we forgot that's a place that we go to pretty frequently in this show. But yeah, I like that the 3 Dinobots are just like kind of like watching, like, what the hell is this? What is this ecological disaster that is about to befall our little part of the world?
To be fair, it's happening in Lake Michigan. It can't get much worse.
Well, I've wondered about that. It's like, how much oil is left in that? It's like, are we just?
I mean, it explodes, so presumably not much.
That's a good point.
Also, that oil must have been hella pressurized to make that blast.
It is a sizable explosion, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep. When we transwarped, we turned all of this oil into energon by putting it in cubes and pressing it. Yeah. Right. I think it's funny that they do it. I don't remember what movie it is. Oh, it's the Land Before Time, where they have that very famous scene of the dinosaur looking up and it explode, and then the meteor flying by. They do that, and Grimlock looks up, and turns out there's just a massive explosion.
Oh, that's a good shout there. That's awesome. So you would think that would be the end of the episode. The Constructicons are presumably transwarped away, but then you get like this. Yeah, I guess for lack of a better term, post-credit scene where basically like, you catch up with the crater, and the Autobots, the fully assembled Autobots, go back to the crater, and it's empty. And
it's such a tragedy in 6 or 8 parts, whatever it took, right?
Yeah.
Like we can finally, it's the guy at the end of the Twilight Zone, right? I finally have time to read. We finally have time to get Lugnut out of this crater.
Yeah, my glasses.
My grappling hook.
Big sign that says you need glasses to read.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, time enough at last. But anyway, so Lugnut is gone, and it turns out that he has been liberated by a Starscream, but not just any Starscream. As they're talking, it becomes more clear that this is Ramjet, aka the pathological liar, which I believe I would like to believe that this bit of dialogue is incredibly important because Lugnut obviously is he's a little embarrassed by his predicament, and to the fact that he is rescued by Starscream, any Starscream. That's enough of an indignity, but he's just like, hey man,
you promised me you will never speak of this to Megatron.
And of course, pathological liar Starscream, Ramjet, he's like, oh yeah, no, of course not. I'd never tell him that.
Oh, I promise.
Yeah, but on the other hand, he's pathological liar Starscream, so I don't know if he could actually intentionally tell Megatron anything.
Well, that's
Oh boy.
That's a really good point, because it's then you get into the paradox of what it is to be the pathological liar, and literally everything he says is a lie. So even when he would almost have to like outsmart himself on the Bizarro speak, to where it's like, well, I'm not telling you about this. I don't even know how that would go. Like,
well, I think reasonably what happens is he's liar Starscream, so he goes, Lugnut's been doing a good job, and you go, oh, Lugnut's been fucking up.
There it is.
Yeah.
Or there must be some like rules of pathological lying robotics, right? Like the Isaac Asimov, like this does not violate the first rule as long as the second rule, yada yada. As far as like lying. But yeah, I love a good ramjet.
I was excited
cameo.
for a half second because I saw the silhouette and I thought it was Blitzwing, and I was like, oh great, Blitzwing, damn it.
Yeah.
Well, and it makes total sense. And right, the writer of this episode did write Lost and Found, which is the Lugnut Blitzwing premiere episode.
Yeah.
I love the scene actually, because there's just, I mean, it's a cool scene, the flying like Lugnut, not in plane mode flying, like this sort of like anime Superman thing going on. But yeah, the reveal and the smart like silhouetting of like who is it going to be, I thought it was really well done, because you're right, I saw Blitzwing at first, and then I saw Starscream, and then I was like Ramjet. But I don't know, I'll admit at this point, even though with my serial rewatcher status, I'm not sure exactly how much this pays off, this little stinger here specifically, but I like
remember anything.
I think it's really cool.
Well, and I get the feeling that this, again, I have no evidence to support this, but this is just my gut feeling that the remaining season 3 episodes are going to be rotten with this. It's just like cliffhangers to nowhere. Like dangling threads that don't pay off, and it's really sad because it felt like as tight as season 1 and season 2 were, and even into Transwarped, it felt like everything had a purpose and nothing was wasted, and like everything forward teased something else. There was so much foreshadowing and callbacks and call forwards, and like everything tied together very neatly. And I think here now already we're starting to see the beginning of like, yeah, maybe this just comes to nothing. Maybe this is just a thing that's there.
I don't think the line of him not telling Megatron comes to anything, but I think they do pay off the liar Starscream rescuing him at some point.
Gotcha.
Good. We'll hope.
I believe they showed them together at some point in the future.
And I guess, Mike, if it makes you feel any better, knowing that this show is kind of setting up these storylines seasons in advance, and there was at least forethought into season 4, maybe this is really foreshadowing. Instead of it considered it like a dropped thread, maybe this is like really out there foreshadowing.
Sure. And trying to sort out the difference of that. And it'll be fascinating. I mean, again, secret foreshadowing for the podcast here. It'll be interesting to see what conversations we have after we get through the last episodes and the shorts and all that other stuff. Once we've consumed everything that is broadcast, trying to
the debrief. I can't wait.
Yeah. You'll maybe do a tally of like what has been paid off, what wasn't paid off, that kind of thing. And of course, what season 4 could have been, because from what I understand, there's divergent paths. It's like it could have been 2 different things. It's like it could have been this, it could have been that.
One thing that is brought up though, is that after the explosion, Dirt Boss gets together, this isn't in the show, it's just a thing that is like mentioned in the wikis and stuff, is that apparently Dirt Boss, after he eventually finds all the other Constructicons, he sets to work on a new project, which is codenamed Devastator.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yes. So that is a thing that was supposed to happen, and I think the idea was Dirt Boss was the head.
I can mess with that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That actually makes a lot of sense, especially given his pedigree, his origin of being the remnant of the Headmaster unit. So
yeah, I love it.
Good stuff. So yeah, so that is the episode. That is Three's a Crowd. And before we wrap up, I guess looking down the lineup, it looks like it's time for Mike's G1 score. And this one, it's kind of sort of in the middle, because there's some catnip there. You got the Union Boys, and I give this one like a 3.4. Give it a 3.4 on the G1 scale, because I like the bombshell-esque mind control thing. I like that the culmination is at a power plant of some kind, so that kind of resonated with me. And again, that
what about the sludge visual? Did that play into it at all?
That was a full point. Yeah. Definitely a full point, because like, you know, it's like maybe I give like a decimal point per Union Boy, that kind of
right. Okay.
But yeah, it's like the sludge thing. It's and it's interesting too, because like, you know, now that we're getting down to it, it's like the differences between like Easter eggs and flat out references also. So it's like it's an aggressively unscientific mix of what goes into a Mike G1 score there. But yeah, I mean, definitely some good fun stuff there. Moving on from that, let's it looks like we got a little bit of time left here. Let's take a dip into the mailbag.
Mail time. Mail time. Mail time. Mail time. Mail time.
The mail's here. Here's the mail that never fails. It makes me want to wag my tail. When it comes, I want a whale. Mail!
You could send us email at 2mikes2furious@gmail.com. That's the email address. But it seems like the most hopping place for commentary on the episodes is the YouTube channel. You can also comment on Spotify. I don't think we've had any Spotify comments yet, but but that's a spot where folks can comment as well. We start with part 1 of Transwarped. Everybody loves Rodimus! ! And our good friend Ichabod Drift comments at It's a Hostile Takeover. My dude's even putting in time codes at this point, but at 2 hours and 2 hours, 4 minutes. There's Mike S. sneaking in more Bad Religion references. Maybe a good time to share that my senior English writing class back in 2003, we were tasked with bringing a song choice to play for the class and have everyone break down the meanings of them in their own views. And as an angsty 17-year-old into punk, emo, and metal, I chose Broken. From their somewhat recently released Process of Belief from 2002. Holy smokes. Doing your Dead Graffin Love Justice from 2 decades ago. Wow, we're getting old. I was ahead of him in reading that. I'm like, wow, 2002, that was a really long time ago. Great episode as always. Love the guests and can't wait for part 2.
2002.
It was a very long time ago.
I didn't exist then, so...
Oh God!
As Michael Andrews just shriveled away, like he drank from the wrong grail. He's like, "What's happening to me?"
John is my portrait of Dorian Gray. I just shrivel up now.
Yep. Hey, born in 04. Woo!
Nice.
Nice.
So yeah, so that is it for the mailbag. And before we get out of here, I think it's time, friends. I think it's time for me to run across the room and maybe dim the lights, maybe bring up the bongos a little bit. And it is time, my friends. It is time for Ichabod Drift's favorite segment of the show. It's Michael Andrews Preview Haiku, a pre-coup, if you will, preview of our next episode.
Yeah, here we go. Bumblebee's screen time is getting out of control. It's a real face-off.
Snap.
Okay.
You gotta put in the snaps later, you know.
There's a whole thing. Like it's all very well produced. Well, John, thanks so much for joining us here today. This was a heck of a lot of fun. You know, we've had one of the things that's satisfying for us is like the opportunity to connect with new fans and like fans that are like, you know, folks we don't know from like previous pre-existing relationships. So I really appreciate you taking the time to find our show, to comment, to hang out in the live stream and comment so much there, and now join us here on the show. But usually what happens is like, you know, we've had like fellow podcasters or like folks that got like blogs or whatever. And normally at this point I would say like, if you have anything you would like to promote and plug, now would be a good time to do so. But
well, I don't do social media really, so I pretty much don't exist on the internet. So good luck, jackasses. And
smart man.
I mean, you guys have my email. If people want to play the Transformers game, if enough people message you through that, if anyone wants to play, I will schedule a time. We'll probably play over Discord. That'll be fun. There will have to be some stuff, but if you got a Discord, I am on there. But I'm not going to give people my Discord because I don't want to.
Right.
Unless if I'm planning on doing something.
I like this guy.
So if anyone in the audience is interested in that, I love role-playing games. I love Transformers. I was really excited to hear back on that email because I sent it right as you guys went on break, which, good timing me.
Yeah, right.
And it worked out okay.
Yeah, we unearthed that, kind of blew the dust off it, and we're like, oh, geez, we better get back to this guy.
Really appreciate it. So that's great.
Want to be a part of the show? Send us an email to mikes2furious@gmail.com. You can also comment on episodes on Spotify and on YouTube. Follow us on Blue Sky individually at Mike Seibert Radio and at Michael Andrews, respectively, and follow the podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at 2Mikes2Furious.
You are Mike. You are Mike. You are Mike. 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 So many Mike. So many Mike. So many Mike. So many Mike. Hey! Mike!
I do have my own cast of homemade Decepticons that you will have to deal with if you play in my role-playing game. Also,
Sweet.
being from the Midwest, I also do have a cast of Autobots that you may encounter, which are the Agrobots.
Oh,
turn
I
into farm
love it.
equipment.
I love
So-
it. You're combining my two favorite things, the Midwest and original characters. So I'm there.
Yeah, so if you want any details on that, I run in a sort of alternate 86 timeline, kinda.
That's cool. Would you even? I'm going to stop the whole goddamn show to make this dumb joke. Would you call them trans farmers?
I mean, yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I'll allow it.
Yeah,
Bang my little
sure. I've
gavel
never
over here.
thought of that one, but yes.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Beautiful.
Well, before we part ways, any closing thoughts on TFA, on animated, on this episode, on life, the cosmos, existence?
A resounding no for me.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
How about no?
I guess final comment, like an hour and a half ago, you mentioned that maybe not all of the G1 cartoons were always wonderfully written. And to that I say, yeah. And to also that I say, what is so bad about the writing of the Socialist Democratic Federated Republic of Carbambia? I don't see anything wrong with that.
No.
I appreciate the emphasis on pronunciation on Carbambia.
Yeah.
Also,
Right. Yep. So anyway, that's my inputs on that.
Love it. Love it.
Very cool. Well, we did it, and until next time, we'll make some good pizza choices. What kind of pizzas are
Toppings. We call them toppings, Mike, in the community.
But what's a good winter pizza? We're in winter mode here. Winter pizza.
Oh, actually, I have an answer for this at the moment. I think I've probably talked about it on this show before, but we have a local place in Minnesota called Rectangle Pizza, Rectangle with a W, and it's really good Detroit style pizza. Well, we got Wrecker references, we got New Detroit references. It's a really good pizza place, and it was actually just this summer on Good Morning America. They did like the best pizza in the country tournament, and they had people come in, and it ended up winning the whole thing. They do really crazy style pizza toppings, trying stuff out. One thing they're doing for this winter is they call it soup season, and they're making pizzas based on popular winter soups. So the first one was a grilled cheese and tomato pizza, and they actually would cut the rectangle pizza in half, put a layer of like government cheese in the middle, close it back up, and then top it with sort of a tomato basil marinara.
Sure.
But now they're on their way to the chicken wild rice pizza, which is a very popular winter warmer soup, very hearty, if you will.
Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I want to stop what I'm doing and get that.
It's like a limited time thing. You can only get it for a little bit. So I missed out on the first pizza entirely. My goal is to get this chicken wild rice pizza before it's too late.
I love it.
Being from Illinois, I'm always a big advocate of Chicago style deep dish.
Sure.
Hell yeah.
For all seasons.
Yeah.
It's good. Nice hearty.
Yep.
Casserole.
Yes.
Yep. Really putting the pie in it.
Right. Bridges the gap between lasagna and pizza. That's what I like about that.
And general issue good winter pizza that's very available in my area. I don't know. People give Casey's a bad rep. It's not that bad.
Oh, big fan of Casey's in this household. That's actually my partner Kate's favorite. Mike, do you have a Casey's up by you?
I don't know what that is.
It's
gas station.
That is the South and the Midwest.
Oh, okay, sure.
They're endemic. Yeah. It's like I'm trying to make it all cultural. They're like Dollar Generals in areas that have less money.
Yeah,
sure.
There you go. Sure. There you go. But for some reason, excellent pizza.
Shockingly good, yes.
And they have the only breakfast pizza that's veggie based.
Oh yeah.
Usually when you get a breakfast pizza, it's got to come with pork and sausage, which is something I don't eat. So I appreciate the veggie breakfast pizza option at Casey's.
Nice.
Two Mikes, Two Furious, brought to you by Casey's Pizza.
Yeah, if you're ever driving through the Midwest and you're on a highway, you'll see one.
Right. TM. That's their tagline, actually.
Yeah, you're right. TM.
Grandpa, let's have a pretend pizza party.
Okay, honey. I'll imagine a Casey's handmade from scratch pizza with all my favorite toppings.
It's got lots of hot and gooey cheese, too. Grandpa, where are you going?
To get a real Casey's pizza.
For a Casey's pizza lover, all it takes is a little imagination.
Pretend pizza works every time.
It's Casey's General Store.